Wow, it actually looks like it's working today. Let's try to get my video up here. Hold on, you guys. There we go. Dude, sizzle shirt par excellence. We have purple for you guys with gold lame on the collar. Can you even believe how freaking amazing it is to see David in silk? And we have this incredible new gift. This is a freaking massive, it's like I guess in Dungeons & Dragons they call this a bastard sword, right? I have a huge bastard sword now that is just like very heavy. I mean, it really does take, you could not swing this around with one hand. You really kind of need two hands, but here we go, you guys. David is in effect with his King David lion bastard sword. You can see there's a lion head. I don't want to touch the blade, but there's a lion head on this sucker, man. Thank you guys. Whoever sent this to me, I still have to go through all the letters, but I did get through the packages. So I want to thank you in advance for enlightening me with this glorious gift. So now I have the warrior sword ready to go at my side at all times. How you guys doing? You love the sword. I'm so glad you're here, Sir Dave-a-lot. That's one heck of an envelope opener. That is awesome. I hope the first wave of Ascension happens this year. Archangel Michael's sword. You got to be strong to carry this sword around, man. You couldn't swing it with one hand, and it's very heavy. I think it's 75 pounds. We got fireworks, ham, cigarettes, and bacon. Excalibur in the back, crazier than a June bug up north. Stay down here in the south. And by the way, what is this? Okay, somebody sent me this. I think they thought it was going to be funny. I think it catches frogs, right? Is this for like frogs or I think this is supposed to go with my country boy routine. I'm going to go out there and gig me up some frogs, man. I got me a frog catching net right here. So, the gifts that I get as David Wilcock, the star of the show, are quite random. But I think somebody's asking for a frog routine. Anybody? Oh, it's a butterfly net. Okay. Looks like it's for, okay, well, we do have butterflies. I don't want to catch them, though, man. Like, yeah, there's been some beautiful butterflies this year, but yeah, I don't know if I want to catch them and kill them. Can't quite get around with that. Fishing net, butterfly net. For the yellow jackets, somebody said. Don't try and fly with that there sword, David. Oh, wee! All right, and let's not forget, we got Richard Whitney came in. He is like such a dude. I mean, honestly, thank you so much, Richard Whitney. Thank you so much, everybody who donates. Roger Zabark is our other big donor, and I'm sure he'll be around. He donated $200, and he says, as always, thank you, David, for all you do. I know it hasn't been easy. I can relate. You're darn right. Peace, love, and light unto you. God bless you and all of us. He's got 23 thumbs up. Vacapalo, happy belated nation's birthday. Grandpa's proud. Beverly Adams, love from Wisconsin to my Sunday family. And it's George W's birthday today. I didn't know that. Crystal Sweeshoe with love and prayers. I miss Tramos as Allison Maxwell. I have to be in the right mood for these characters, you guys. I mean, sometimes I'll just spontaneously burst into them, but, oh, dude, this has been so crazy. I mean, my life is so crazy. It's just so crazy. So, like, we got 1,763 viewers right now. Thank you guys for being here. Who cares about George W? I just read it, whatever. For catching hornets. If bats fly into your house, you can use the net, catch and release. Yeah, this thing does have telescoping power. I mean, it's got these little screw things, and then you get more extension. So, I think I could probably catch yellow jackets with this, and I wouldn't have to kill them. So that might be a good thing. I don't want to kill any butterflies, though, you guys. So we're not going to use this to net butterflies, but some really great redneck character is waiting to be born out of that. Where's the love for poutine? Oh, we love the poutine. So anyway, how is your foot? Yeah, that was one of the things that really made this past week rough, dude, is that my foot was in like bad shape. And I didn't really start to feel better until maybe Thursday. So I was limping around. It was definitely not easy. But, you know, the good part is, guys, we are making enormous continual progress. As you know, my main topic of interest that we talk about every week is this concept that the arrests are coming. Let's get that sword in the shot, huh? Let's go way over here. The arrests are coming. You know, life is good. We're not in a bad situation. And, you know, we've had ups and downs. We're all going through a cosmic crucifixion. We're all going through a massive initiation. And the initiation is all about, you know, learning to give up your flaws, learning to let go of the things that no longer serve you. And I want to thank you guys for being there. Don't forget your 5 major grease groups. Ain't that right? So again, we're making enormous continual progress, and at some point, everything is going to shift. But before we get there, life obviously has its constant ups and downs. I can absolutely say this last 4 years has been the most difficult part of my whole life, the most difficult thing I've ever done. Never in my life have I suffered so many lawsuits, so many threats, so many, you know, setbacks, nor have I lived with such sustained bankruptcy. Michael has called this the complex polycrisis. So also, somebody was dissing me about the fact that the cover art is the same every week. It's like, well, I've been too busy to change the graphic. I'm literally surviving. You know, I survive. I just barely survive getting through this with all the different crazy stuff that's going on in this complex polycrisis. Now, I will say that, again, you know, the reason why I'm not making a whole new splash screen of new art for every show is because I simply am overwhelmed. I'm always overwhelmed. I'm living in a crisis. I'm living in bankruptcy. I'm living alone. It's extremely, extremely difficult to do this. And I'm really, really tired of it. I would love to do this with more money. And so one of the things that I'm probably going to have to do, I don't think I'm even going to have a choice unless we get money very soon, is I'm going to have to do a public event. And there's ups and downs to doing a public event. I'll probably do it here in Colorado. So if you are interested, please bear in mind that I may be announcing it as early as next week. It could be in the Boulder area. I'm not exactly sure what venue we're going to pick yet. But yeah, I am so tired of not having any money. I am so tired of being bankrupt. Something happened. You remember that like last month I had, you know, a lot fewer viewers in the show. We were only topping out around 3,500, 4,000 instead of like 5,000 or 6,000. Well, guess what? The money that I was supposed to get at the end of the month was half as much as I expected. And it has been annoying and frustrating. So, you know, I just need more income. I'm not getting it. So despite the fact that there are all kinds of potential issues and complications with a live event, it's probably going to happen, you guys. So please come to Central Florida. The advertisements come on right at the wrong time. Well, you can, again, you know, subscribe to YouTube Premium. You don't get any ads at all. And I only set it on medium. I don't set it on high. I could make more money, but then you guys would have a lot more commercials, and we're not doing that. Sandra Davis, it's a pleasure to make a difference for you. She donated $50. Thank you, Sandra. And then we have another one from Vaca Paulo. You went for a subtle Walter Mercado look today. That is cool. Okay, I don't know who Walter Mercado is, but Tracy Neely, my first live stream. I watch the recordings every week. Thank you for doing this. Thank you, guys. I mean, I want you to know I do love you guys with all my heart. I really do. It's just, yeah, I mean, I think that Michael wanted me to go through this so that I'm going through the same thing that everybody's going through. It's like we're sharing our karma together. And Dor Etgar donated $30. Hello, David. God bless. What are your thoughts about the DMT molecule? You spoke about Alice Bailey. Blavatsky looks like she is possessed. Well, those are like 3 questions. Alice Bailey does appear to be a Luciferian, as is Blavatsky. We said that before. However, there are some interesting things. Alice Bailey preserved the prophecy of Saint Germain that he was going to return with Jesus and other ascended masters, and he said the year 2025. That's just a fact. Alice Bailey reported on this because this is what this being that was a human ET, I think, said. So yes, she's Luciferian. Okay, that's true. But where did she get the prophecy from, and why did they take it so seriously? The guy was real. Just because somebody who recorded the prophecy might have had something you're questioning doesn't mean it didn't happen. I actually feel very relaxed. So Bonnie Demlong, a lot of you guys say you want to go through a conference with me. So we're all going through financial difficulties. Thank you very much. Bonnie Demlong donated $20. So again, I'm not interested in a 5 or 6 hour show today. I think we might even be able to keep it below 4, depending on how we do it. But dude, how can you not love watching a show where I've got this kind of a sizzle outfit on? The silk just radiates love and wisdom and peace. You know, the purple is the Christ consciousness color. Let's claim that back for what it really is supposed to mean. I'm glad to be here. I've got a sword, dude. If somebody comes barging into the room, I don't know if I would use this as my first line of defense because it's so freaking heavy. But, we'll just take it one step at a time. So again, anyone who wants to complain about anything that I'm doing, try to live in my shoes. See if you could handle this without completely exploding. But the work continues to be great despite the toll upon me. I want to make that clear, I don't really like this. I don't really like doing a show every single Sunday. I'm too lazy. So you guys have brought out the best in me. You've brought out a weekly performance on schedule, on time. I keep doing this every week. It's like an assignment from Archangel Michael, an assignment from the universe. Yeah, I'm very tired. I would have preferred not to do a show this week. But my God, that income hit that I took from having lower viewer numbers, I just can't afford not to do it. So, and also the time loop is freaking great. So like this week's time loop is just, again, really dazzling. And I keep wondering, honestly, I don't know what's going on here. I keep wondering that I might run out. Are we going to run out of, time loops? Are we going to run out of prophecies? Is it going to stop? No, dude, this week it's dazzling as always. It's directly talking about the Iran-Israel war. It may flare up again. I don't know. But you're going to get to hear all the stuff that Michael has to say. And I'm really super excited about that. So another thing that I want to point out to you guys, Banana Sandwich, which is a very lewd name, says, what happened in court? It was fine. I'm not going to talk about it any more than that. I don't want people poking around in the personal business of myself and others. And everybody in this deserves the confidentiality that they're asking for. There have been damages. It's not a big deal. I just want to point out it's not a big deal. And I'm not worried about it. But yeah, we had to do that. And it was a very intense learning experience for me. I had to go through an enormous amount of difficulty, fear leading up to it, but it ended up being okay. So that's all I'm going to say. So here's another thing that I think is really important, you guys. We got through the Independence Day. There were no attacks. We were all, many of the top people in this truth community were saying, oh, there's going to be terrorism, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. Maybe they wanted to, but you know what? The military is doing a really good job, other than the floods in Texas, which does look pretty much like a sacrifice ceremony. Using the weather weaponized. I think that might be what we're dealing with. But man, Michael nailed that flood, dude, because the river that flooded in Texas, you go look it up, I'll show you later, was called Guadalupe. And so Michael says in this week's time loop, unfortunately, the prophecies of the Virgin Mary of Guadalupe continue to be in effect. So how odd is it that in 1999 he mentions Guadalupe, and the main loss of life and bad thing that happened since last week is the flooding of the Guadalupe River. Apparently 27 children missing still. They don't know where they are. So we pray for those children. We hope everything's going to be okay. And good afternoon, David Wilcock. Hope all is well with you, says N Goddess. Sadly, my first thought was that it was a sacrifice. Yep. Give David a thumbs up, says William Epstein. Kind of a, not the best last name anymore, but we love you, William. Thank you. Joe said, I wanted to say, David, I enjoy your program. I hope what you talk about comes to pass. Could I please ask you and your audience for healing prayers or positive vibes? I haven't been feeling well these days. Thanks. Absolutely, Joe. We will definitely pray for your healing. And anyway, you guys are great. I'm in South Texas. There was no rain here. Central and more northern areas had a disaster. Any updates on Stavati, says Nanasani. So yeah, that's actually like the next, let's go into that. So we got through Independence Day with no attacks, and I've been meditating on the sacramental nature of all things. You know, the main law of one teaching is that to see all things as sacred as they are. So even if you go through difficult, traumatic experiences, which again, being in court obviously was, it's not anything I think anybody wants to have to go through, to have to stand in front of a federal judge, but hey, you know what, we did it. And so the sacramental nature of all things is a teaching that tells us that the universe doesn't give you more than you can handle. So you may feel like your life is overwhelming, you may feel like your life is difficult, I know I do, but at the same time, you get through it. You push through the pain, you push through the difficulty, and you find the glory and the grace and the happiness in the midst of struggle. So we're all having to learn how to be, and we're up to 2,500 viewers already, so thank you guys for showing up. You are appreciated, my brother from Ohio. I saw UFOs 3 days in a row in the same area. I have pictures and video. That's Felix Cordova. So somebody else was in court over a false eviction. That was Elisa Taylor. Sorry to hear that. You don't have to donate, okay? There's a couple people writing in here. Please don't feel guilty if you're not donating. I want you to donate through Google's portal. This is another thing somebody was saying. It keeps coming up. They give me a majority of the money that I get. I don't know if it's 70% or whatever, but like, I don't mind paying for the bandwidth. So yes, donating here is a great way to go. If you go to my old website, divinecosmos.com, there is still a working PayPal donation link in there. Those are great too. You can also mail it to me. Some people mail me checks, money orders. You know, that's P.O. Box 3700, Nederland, Nederland, Colorado, 80466. Anita Constant donated $50. Woo! And says, what happens to my dog? Thank you. Vibe High says, yes, it's been overwhelming. I mean, yeah, honestly, like, my morale was about as low on doing a show today as it's ever been. I'm like, dude, I really don't want to do this anymore. I'm really tired of bankruptcy, lawsuits, because there's always lawsuits, there's always death threats, there's always harassment, there's always bankruptcy, there's always pain. You know, I got tortured again. I had 2 weeks off from the torture table, and I got my massage therapist back just yesterday. So just yesterday, I went through 4 hours. And it was excruciating. I mean, I really, really was in pain. I love this show, says Danielle Mogab. I love the show, says Adam Townsend. Keep it up. The mucho splendid work. Much love from Lichfield, England. Looking forward to hearing what Michael has professed, says Connie Dobbin. Yeah. So again, you know, the time loops are so good. I said, well, dude, this show basically just writes itself. I could kind of just sit in the chair with a remote control and just let Michael talk this week, because he is on top of it even if I'm not feeling that great. Nobody is going to feel good going to court. Nobody is going to feel good, you know, going through hobbling, crippling pain where you can't even walk. Nobody is going to feel good going through the constant threat of uncertainty and death. Our world is unstable. We are living in a totally chaotic environment where just out of nowhere we had a 12-day war. And oh yeah, by the way, the whole planet could have been nuked from this war, but thankfully it didn't. But then, you know, what are they going to do next? And is the Alliance ever going to actually arrest these people? I mean, I have to say, and I please, Alliance, don't take it personally, but I'm kind of pissed off. It's like, I've been doing this for so long. And like, are we going to do it? Are we going to get the arrest to happen? And you might be feeling the same way. Well, I'm not going to make it better by hiding. I'm not going to make it better by being burned out and not showing up. And Michael is telling us this is all on schedule, and I know how frustrating it is, and I know that you're down and you're frustrated. You know, the time loops have been great, even if my own life hasn't been. That's a very important point. We had such amazing, I mean, it's a very, very strange thing that on the one hand, I'm like totally bankrupt and my life is in the greatest jeopardy ever. Lawsuits just roll in, you know, it's a nonstop amount of like, my next court date is this, and then I'm going to have to do that, and then I'm going to have to do this. And I've never been sued before. I mean, this is crazy. So like, you know, it's just, it's an ongoing cacophony of madness. And I know your life is the same way too. We're all feeling it. I'm not just saying that it's me, and I'm not asking for your sympathy either. You know, I showed up here despite not wanting to, and that's my own feeling of pride in myself that I'm not going to let negativity and attack and death threats and enormous terrorism and stalking and harassment. I'm not going to let that stop me. The time loops have been great. I mean, wait till you guys see what we got this week. It is so amazing. We got Stephen Brixey, and he says, "We love you, David. All will be well because of the divine timing." "I love your purple shirt," says Lady Jane. "It is super sharp." Chris G says, "That is because you are aware of the light." Dee Dee says, "I totally agree. It's exhausting." Elisa Taylor, "I feel the same. I'm not alone." Exactly. It's perfectly said. I mean, yeah, it's, you know, we're all there, so I'm reading a lot of what you guys are saying. David is a true patriot. "My boyfriend has 3 court cases next week," says the Nerd Painter, "because his POS manager embezzled over $100,000, and now they're suing him." I'm like, really? It's awful. I feel for you. Well, I'm not being sued, and again, no matter, even if the whole case is lost, it's like, I'm not a defendant, it doesn't really matter, so if I have to go through deposition, fine. If if he loses the case, that's fine, whatever. But like, it's just incredible when people can compel you to court. They can compel you to do this. They can compel you to do that. You're forced to do this, forced to do that. Woo! But at the same time, you know, I learned a lot. Like, wow, I can actually go through this and be okay. And I can do what I feel is a good job, and I can be well-spoken, and I didn't have any weaknesses. I didn't have any problems. I didn't make mistakes. I didn't do anything stupid. You know, those are big, big things, man. When you're going up against your own trial, whatever that might be, you want to perform well, and I believe that I have done that. So Tristan Early and Richard Collins, both thank you very much. They're getting tons of thumbs up. So, we are all tired and pissed off, David, says Liza Smith. We understand, totally exhausted with all of it. The shirt lifts your spirit. It's a great look. David Beck, as a fellow David, my mom named me after King David. I feel your struggle. God has a plan. It's always darkest before the dawn. God has a plan. We will get through this. Much love and light. I totally agree. It's been a roller coaster for many of us. We are going straight through it, says Q Fay. Energy upgrades happened early this morning, says Deborah Oulette. Archangel Michael is right on target. You'll be stronger on the other side. I love you, says Diane Ross. Thank you very much. Love your short hair. Hang in there. I would love to come out to Boulder. Yeah, so please, again, you guys are the key in some ways to the alleviation of my misery. Now, granted, I could take on corporate ad sponsors. There's various reasons why I haven't done that. And I could definitely, just off of the amount of viewers I have and the popularity of our show, I could be bagging $100,000 a month. And I don't do that because I don't want my message to be distorted. But so we're just doing donations and regular ads. We're not doing all the stuff that would make me a lot more. So yeah, I struggle financially because I want to have complete control over my message and keep it as commercial free as possible. Get an intense workout, it will help. Definitely done that. The butterfly net was also for loonies, people who were chasing butterflies, as Nikola Tesla Afterlife Conversation. 7 Geometric Thought Forms, the giver of sizzle jackets, donated. Your fans love you, bro. You're going to be tested more than most due to following the Michaelic path of knowledge distribution for the general public. I totally agree. Vacapalo, I can't wait for your next live in-person event. Yeah, we're definitely looking at that. We're probably going to bring in Chris Beskar. We're probably going to have him reveal some more information about things that we haven't gone public with before. He's as much of a real deal insider as any of the top insiders I've ever met. And he has some incredible stuff that maybe they're going to let us talk about it now. you know, some very, very exciting inside information. So we want to give you something new. We want to give you a chance to meet us in person, to be there in the audience. It's an electrifying feeling to be part of a live show. It's been a long time since I've done one. I haven't done one on my own since 2019. So it's probably a good thing, probably about the right time. And anyway, the bottom line is, even if my own life hasn't been great, the time loops have been great. And so I'm just being totally honest with you, right? Like, okay, let's be honest. I didn't want to do this show, but I'm here because ultimately I'm not going to bitch out. I'm not going to like just go and you know, curl up in a fetal position, suck my thumb and cry. I don't actually suck my thumb. That's very bad for your teeth. It would serve no purpose. But when people get really, really traumatized, they might even go that far, right? I'm not at that point. But, you know, we have, the good parts are we're in the warmest parts of the year. We've got very long days. The sun is out again. It was cloudy a minute ago. And I do actually believe that all of this is real and that we're going to be seeing results. So another thing that's like the passageway out of hell, despite what the trolls say, we have absolute proof that we have a deal. We are going to be doing meetings coming up very soon. So I'm going to have to start traveling. I mean, like, until we actually have money in the bank, I have to travel to make sure that these deals are going to actually get to that. But we've got something equivalent to, you know, there's meetings coming up later this month that I'm going to have to attend, and they're very exciting. We've got multiple things that are going to hit, I think. But we are in that final phase right before we have money in the bank, which means that it's like the hardest time is right before, when you're still struggling and you're still surviving and you're barely making it, and you're just out there at the front of the cave with a torch and a pitchfork, fending off monsters, animals with fangs. I mean, that's what it feels like, dude. It's just, I just can't believe it's Sunday again already and I'm back on the air. But you know what? I like being on the air. I like the fact that we're talking. You guys can talk to me right here. We have this amazing technology that allows me to be actually talking to you live, having, what? I got 7 camera angles of video if you include my slides. And I can just flip around, go from one camera to another whenever I want. I can just make it fast. I can make it slow. I've gotten into the habit of doing this. I've got my sword. And it's very exciting. So yes, I am going to have to start traveling for my job. And it's going to become more difficult for me to keep this weekly schedule. So before the end of July, I mean, I think I can avoid missing a Sunday, but there's going to be one of the Sundays of July where I'm really going to have trouble, and I'm going to have to probably do all the work early in the week and then just get ready to go on this big, big trip to Washington, D.C. We're having some very interesting things happening. It's probably all going to be under NDA. I won't be able to tell you if I met Trump or anything like that. We're not going to be able to talk about that. But I am going to D.C. Very soon this month. Before the end of the month. That's what's going to be happening. So it's actually very, very cool. Like, if I wasn't so awfully, awfully bankrupt, I would be very happy about what's going on. We just need that final phase. So again, if you guys could show up for me, we got donations coming in. If you guys could show up for me at this conference, that will solve all of our intermediary financial problems, and I really appreciate that. Dearest David, love from England. Did you receive the last copy of the album I made called The True Nature of Time? I believe I did. Thank you eternally for all the wisdom, faith, and inspiration over the years. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting like every week, I'm getting tons and tons of CDs, albums, books. I can't listen to them or read them because I just don't have the time, but I do appreciate everybody sending things in. So thank you for sending them in. Cynthia Shannon says, David, we are your Sunday family. You are safe with us and we love you. What about doing the conference and charging something to view it live? Yes, that's Lila, you're exactly right. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I want to try to find a way to do the live event and in person. That way we might have, I don't know, 300 to 500 people that can get into the room. And then we're going to have a live option as well. So yes, that is the plan. I do want to make it for both of those things. We just had a $200 donation. That makes me feel better. already starting to be a good day. We're getting red donations here. Thank you, David. That's 199 pounds, which is like $400. Thank you, David. Love and light from Kidderminster, England. Well, thank you very much, LTJ, for that donation. I really appreciate it. 200 British pounds is even better than $200, somebody says. Please do your live event at Stavati headquarters. That would be cool. Well, we're going to have to buy a headquarters first. But instead of spending your whole week preparing, why not just do a Q&A? Well, again, I'm in a time loop, and so the time loop needs to be honored. Michael, Archangel Michael, and the Alliance both need me to do this. So yes, we have multiple meetings in DC lined up. This could be it. I mean, it could be, and again, all these NDAs are coming in, so I'm not going to be able to talk very much about anything anymore. Once I sign the NDA, I'm taking an oath, and I have to take that seriously, so I probably won't be talking as much about what we're actually doing, but we will have things that we can say, and we will have approved press releases and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I'm going to probably be there for a whole week, and we're just going to, we're going to try to get as much done as we can. But one of the things that's going to happen is that we're going to finalize this deal that we've already got, and I would imagine capitalization will follow very soon afterwards. We have another investor who keeps on giving us deadlines and says he's going to, fly out here and meet with us, and then I keep preparing for that to happen, and I'm like setting time aside, and I'm trying to be ready for it, and it just doesn't happen. He's been telling us this since last September. I've kind of written the whole thing off, but yeah, I might even have to travel next week. If he suddenly pops up again, then I'm going to have to get on another plane next week to close that deal. But again, once we close the deal, we're set. And I want you to be aware that this is a metaphor in my life that applies to you. So, David is going to get money. Well, we're all going to get money. We're all going to get paid off by the universe with Ascension and with this amazing shift in the world. So we already do have our first signed deal, and life will completely change once we go into production. And this is really a metaphor of Ascension. The Alliance is continuing to signal that there is imminent action. And again, it's like, I don't really know where we're going. I thought that a war with missiles and exchanges of missiles going back and forth, that would kind of be the moment that it would happen, that we'd see the arrests, and right in the middle of all that chaos is when it would happen. Golden Hawk says, you're a true inspiration. And then Nate Pierce says, hello, sorry I'm late. And Phil Kasubris, he donated $100. I just saw that. My contribution to David's Sunday tea party to counter the Brits from Boston, he donated $100. And that is, again, Phil Kasubris. Thank you very much. Okay, now I'm up to date. If I catch that, if I miss one, I'm really sorry, but I caught it. So nobody's donation got missed here. And we're already, even at 33 minutes, we're already at 3,047 concurrent viewers. There's very few people who can pull that off. That's part of the reason why we want to keep doing it every week, is just to let you know that I'll be here, and whatever is going on in my life, I'm going to make this happen. And, so I didn't know, okay, now what? The Iran-Israel war stopped. That was supposed to be the scare event. Okay, we had the scare event, so where's the arrests? What are we going to do next? What's the next big thing that's going to happen? Is the Ukraine war going to suddenly come to a startling end as a result of a military defeat? That may be possible. They are not willing to negotiate. They're just not. So that could lead to a military victory that's going to be, again, probably. I mean, look, I'm ready for Iran-Israel to pick up again. There's signs that might happen. I'm ready for Ukraine to end in a big, big mess. That might happen. Other than that, dude, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, We have a lot of things going on here, and it just seems like, my God, this just keeps on going on and going on and going on. But again, we didn't have terror attacks on the 4th. If we did, that probably would have triggered the arrests. That didn't happen. So, the Alliance probably, my guess is, they're probably going to make an offensive move. They're going to make an offensive move. They're going to do something that's very disruptive, that changes the game. Why are there military helicopters flying over New York? Why did they surround the White House and the Treasury with fencing? What the hell is going to happen next? Will they try to arrest somebody? Will the first arrest be made that are like the really, really big names? And then does that trigger riots? And does that trigger unrest? And, you know, it's anybody's guess, but I would not be inclined to think this is going to drag on forever. Yes, it's frustrating, and right now we're in a very weird fog of war. We don't know what's going to happen next. We really can't see the future. We don't know what the alliance is going to do. We don't know when they're going to do it. The trial that just ended this past week was, again, very disappointing, but I kind of expected that, because what do they keep telling us? Military is the only way forward. So you're not going to get justice ever through the normal court system. So even though we don't know what the hell is going to happen, and you know me, I always want to be aware of the intel to whatever degree we can, but this week's time loops have continued to be utterly dazzling. And so we've decided that we're going to do a shorter show for the holiday weekend because, look, I'll show up, but 5 hours? No, we're not doing 5 hours. And again, there's some people love it, some people don't love it. And I'm trying to be honoring people who would like the show to be a little shorter. I honestly just feel overwhelmed half the time. Like, Michael has so much that he wants to say. The Alliance has so much they're pushing out with their slides. Thankfully, the last couple of weeks have been a little fewer numbers of slides. We can get through them faster. Let's go over what happened this past week. How does that sound? You guys ready to get into the current events? Oh, we got Dor Etgar donated $3. Thank you very much. That's right there. Nice blue color. Just stay out of the fear base, says Alan Compton. I agree. Have you heard anything about Galactic Federation Council being detained? Nobody gets detained at that level, so I don't think that's really happening. Don't forget to hit the like button. Sorry I'm late, says Nate Pierce. You should get into live channeling. We're not going to do live channeling. No, not on. That's definitely not going to happen. There's way too many trolls and death threats and terrorism and weaponized harassment. We don't need to feed them red meat, so we're not going to be doing that. But the point is, we are doing live channeling in a way. It's just that it's happening in 1999, and it's coming through the present. So here's another strange thing, you guys, okay? So, like, these are the two cassette tapes. Let's see if you can see the dates on that. I want to make sure it's in focus. That looks pretty good, huh? So you can see here that it says 4/19/99 to 4/21/99, and then it goes 4/30/99 to 5/15/99, okay? So this is where we're at right now. That's way out of focus now. This is where we're at right now. These are the two tapes that we're going to be reading from today. There's material on these cassettes that go through the whole week. Now, what's weird is, notice that it goes from 21 up to 30. There's like 9 days, or 22. It's actually 22. There's 8 days missing here. This is because I got kicked out of the farm I was living at. I was living in a barn, as you know, and it was very, very stressful to have to move. It took a whole bunch of time and energy, and I just simply was not able to keep up this practice of writing dreams down, dictating them into a tape recorder, dictating Archangel Michael. So when we get into the time loop section, I want you to be aware that this week ends with a huge discontinuity. And we don't really start to get to hear from Michael again until like May 11th. There's a few little things that he says in between, but it's almost a whole like 3 weeks of downtime where Michael's just not there. But when he comes back, it's like dazzling. So I'm going to read you a little bit of the one that happened when he came back. It again predicted the Iran-Israel war. The prophecies are just dazzling. Leanne Boudreau, thank you very much. So we have a shorter show for this weekend. Let's get right into it. So I'm just going to take you through the things that jumped out at me the most this week. This was the first one. Ultra-processed foods linked to brain changes that drive overeating. Junk food may rewrite your brain's hunger controls after a study of 30,000 people. Yes. So Uncle Jack, our Australian friend, told me that this is called the weapon system. And he said that when you eat these ultra-processed foods, that an incredible amount of scientific evil research has been done specifically to what it says here. It actually changes your brain. Your brain functions differently when you're eating this stuff, and it causes you to want to eat more. You get a sugar high, you're getting a narcotic, drug-like effect from your food. these foods also like are made, their flavor scientists are designing them to taste as good as possible. Regular food doesn't usually taste as good. It actually takes quite a bit of work in the kitchen, which I'm quite good at, by the way. If you came over and I cooked dinner for you, you'd totally get it, because I can rock the dinner. But like, yeah, most people don't really know how to do these chef techniques that are going to get you the best tasting food. I use a lot of sesame oil and maple syrup. Everything that I cook with meat is sesame oil, maple syrup, garlic powder, onion powder. 2 more donations just came in. We got Caveman and we got Dor Etgar. We live in Israel. We're Jewish. Congratulations. Represent the tribe. I felt like my mission was to marry our Aryan converted neighbor I grew up with when I synced with your shows back in 2012. Okay, well, thank you for being here, Dor Etgar. We really appreciate it. Lots of Jewish friends growing up, so no problem with that. Nate Pierce, I've been seeing tons of 222s and 333s. I really don't understand anti-Semitism. It's like, dude, you got to think outside the box and not blame a whole group of people for something when just people at the top are doing some crazy things. So, we have a lot of good stuff going on here. This time loop has been very, very reliable. I want to point that out. We've been doing this every week since September. It is obviously a Christian source. It speaks about Jesus. Anyway, there's some trolling going on. You guys who really have been watching me and loyal to the show, you get it. Dude, we're already at 3,600 viewers at 41 minutes. That's fucking awesome. Did I just... See, I'm so relaxed. Like, this shirt is like a cat that has just curled up on your body, and everywhere you just feel this cat that's just warm and he loves you, or she. Let's call it a female cat. The cat just loves you and she's curled up against your body. It's just wonderful. I always had girl cats growing up as a kid. So, okay, let's talk about this, right? That's the first step. The next step is, oh, they did that on purpose. This was the result. They're finally publicizing the science that says, yes, your brain will actually change. It will make you addicted. You become addicted to this food, and it makes you eat too much, which makes you gain weight. It's a very complex amount of research. That's what Uncle Jack called the weapon system. They put this stuff in there because what he said was, this is, I quote from the top insider, if you go into a country where they're eating their traditional healthy food and you try to take them over, they will fight you down to the last person throwing rocks when their legs are blown off. But if you give them these ultra-processed foods, you can just roll right in with the tanks and nobody will do anything. They become docile, they become complacent, they won't fight back. So that's why it's called a weapon system. You want to get people addicted to these foods, you want to get people craving these foods. Let's get that sword in the shot, huh? You want to get people craving these foods, addicted to these foods. And so this was a big headline. I'm like, dude, that's one of the last steps before we find out what's really going on. Once the disclosure comes out, nobody is ever going to want to eat this stuff unless it's massively reformed. These businesses probably will collapse. And again, they need to deploy, the DS needs to deploy this technology, as they call it, into a given country to stop them from resisting tyranny. So it will make you more compliant. It will make you more docile. It will make you fatter. You'll be more depressed and sad and have less energy. So I highly, highly recommend that you cut all these things off out of your diet completely. So then we see this ceasefire is taking place. This is really great. A long and productive meeting with the Israelis today, agreeing to the necessary conditions to finalize a 60-day ceasefire. And then we will work with all parties to end the war. Well, that's the big one. That's not just Iran and Israel. That's the whole entire thing. So again, this is something you might have missed if you didn't pay attention. Amy Roden just donated. Thank you very much. Let's make sure Why is Elon forming his own political party? Somebody's laughing. Why are we getting all these laughs? Oh, David in satin silk. LOL, it's okay to make a slip. All right. Sorry that I dropped the bomb. You know, that does happen occasionally, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, my God, you watch Joe Rogan, it's like, it's part of the vocabulary to just drop it all throughout the show. So I'm being very moderate in many ways, but Qataris and Egyptians will deliver the final proposal. I hope that Hamas takes it because it will not get better, it will only get worse. So, you know, he's inching towards a resolution. That's what it says in the second sentence. If he is able to pull this one off, this is BC, one of my favorite guys out there. I really love him. He's so authentic, and he's not making money, and he's just doing this out of the love for the country. If he's able to pull this one off, not only will the killing stop, it would be a historic achievement, one that even his biggest critics would be unable to deny. Gaza's become the most important issue. If he can get them to stand down, they would have no choice but to praise him, and this narrative that he is owned will be permanently disproven. I couldn't agree more. So, and then, whoops, I showed you that right at the bottom. Another really cool thing was that right as I looked at it, it was at 1111 views. Okay, that's pretty cool. So then we go into Wednesday. And what's up with these Iranian hackers? This is probably one of the most troubling developments of the week. It's not really Iran after all, but this is the headline. They have 100 gigabytes of emails. An unconscionable, the U.S. Attorney General calls it an unconscionable cyber attack. So let's just assume there's a whole lot of stuff in there. Let's just assume, again, this is what it says on the news, but did you see what it actually said on TG, our alliance source? Are you following that? Do you have TG? You should. Blankety blank may have gained access to his emails, and 697 people are angry. So again, publicly they're calling it Iran, but then when you read the insider source, and again, how does he know this? Where did he get this from? This is not public. This again proves that there's inside information going on. Dude, we're at 3,700 viewers. It's freaking amazing. Ooh, so yeah, this is, they might try to fight back. They're probably pouring through those 100 gigabytes right now, trying to find something damaging that they can use and weaponize. And again, I don't think this is going to go on a whole lot longer. I don't know where it's going. I don't know how this is going to end. But again, the alliance may make a big offensive move. It could even be this week. And this is the defense. They're trying to come out with damaging information that can break that momentum. They just never stop fighting. So then on Thursday, again, this is something we have to be grateful for. Lone wolf terror threats on July 4th, Independence Day. Lone wolf actors remain the greatest potential threat. Nothing happened. And we are so lucky, dude. I'm just so happy that we finally have gotten through yet another one of these dates that a lot of people were pumping up with fear. And I told you I didn't think anything was going to happen. Why? Because I didn't see it in the time loop. The time loop is actually very good. So nothing happened. And then we're finding out, here's another thing. And, you know, look at these people. I thought this was a very funny graphic. These people walking around like zombies with their phones. Social media especially harms girls' sleep and mental health. 50% of 13 to 17-year-old girls say social media harmed their sleep. 50%. I mean, it's like, whoa, holy crap. And then 43% or 40% of boys. So again, just like I was saying with the processed food, is this something that just sort of happened because people can't control themselves on social media? Or was it designed this way? Was it designed to create misery? Was it designed to feed these evil aliens the energy of our fear that they call loosh? Yes, I think it was. I stay away from this stuff. I mean, you know, I guess you could say I've got a unique problem because I'm in a fight to the death with this one kid every time I post, and obviously somebody's paying him. We don't know who yet, but we're going to find out. He's gotten a lot worse, too. Like the last week, he's much, much worse. So whoever he is and whatever is behind him, they feel threatened because our attacks have drastically increased. And, you know, so is the team. We're building up our team. We keep getting bigger and bigger. We've got like 4 people now just on moderating this comment section here because we have to, because we get attacked so much and it's so vicious and nasty. So yes, what you're going to learn is that this whole entire system was designed to do this. It was designed to harm your sleep. It was designed to harm your mental health. It was designed to make you sad. Again, just like the weaponized food, you can roll right in there. Nobody's going to oppose you. Just get them all hooked on social media. Get them all narcissistically focused on their own image. get everybody living at home. They don't meet each other in person anymore. They're always buried in their phone. And they use all the same techniques of like Vegas slot machines and casino techniques, where what you end up having is, again, you know, a total addiction from the little sounds and the notification. I turn off all notifications. If anything tries to make my phone make a little noise, I'm like, get rid of it, man. I don't want to know what your website got updated with. I don't want to be told anything by notifications at all. I don't want bells. I don't want sounds. You know, you gotta keep yourself free range and pure. And if you spend too much time living in this fake digital ecosystem, it's not good for you. That's what this proves. And again, this is teenagers. Half of all teenagers are having mental health problems and sleep problems from this, and we're not doing anything about it because it was designed very ingeniously. So here's the next thing on the list, you guys. And again, I feel great. It's like there's a cat turned up, curled up on my body. 3,386 concurrent viewers. We are rapidly heading towards 4,000 in less than an hour. That is awesome. This is what I think is going to happen. If there's no weapons going in, then the war is going to end quickly because you just can't fight without weapons. So this is a very serious thing for them. He's planning to confront during a call today after the U.S. has suddenly halted the shipments. So that might not seem like a big thing to you because, again, you're going to have to wait and see. But the point is, if they don't have any shipments, it's not going to continue. They are not willing to negotiate. They haven't been willing to. So this is where it's going to go. And it's very sad. The next one is surveillance comes out if you're trying to speak the truth. This is, again, getting back into the weaponized social media thing. Marla Maples reveals that she was put under surveillance after she spoke with a whistleblower. So yeah, that's what happens, dude. Like, there is a system and it's very real. And if you're as disruptive and popular as I am, again, we're 3,557 right now, you're going to get hit really hard. And you know, Stephen appears to have a whole team of people working underneath him. We're going to find out a lot more as time goes on. So again, you will be harassed. You will be targeted because I'm on a big level. I get more harassment, more lawsuits and death threats and terrorism and everything you can imagine. It's not a fun way to live. This poor guy is going to have multiple lifetimes of karma to work off all the shit that he's done to me. Richard Collins, thank you very much. So what is the military doing in New York City? That's the next one that comes in off of our Insider channel. And that is an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of financial stuff going on in New York. There's a lot of swamp there. Could this mean that we're very close? Again, you probably feel the same way I do. You're very, very tired of waiting. You're very, very tired of being told soon. What does soon mean? Is soon next week? Is soon a month? Is soon 3 months? Well, Michael said it's going to happen in 2025, so I think it will. But my God, I'm tired of waiting, and I'm sure you are too. So everything that looks like it might happen, I admit I'm going to kind of grab onto it and be like, yes, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Well, we can just hope. We can just hope. So again, this same character is attacking everybody. It's not just me. Anybody who speaks out about UFOs and gets any type of publicity, they're all being attacked by Stephen. How do I know that? Because I click on their posts, and then it says show probable spam, and I click on that, and then nothing comes up. Why? Because I've already blocked those accounts. So this is not normal people. This is not organic. This is funded. This is weaponized, and it's very, very nasty because it's including death threats and takedowns and all kinds of stuff. And so Ross Coulthart, who I really do appreciate and respect, is now talking about this. So he says, we know exactly who you are. I know your names, and sooner or later we're going to name you, and you're going to be identified as people involved in criminal activities against the American public. Well, I've already done the naming. We got to go beyond that. We actually have to file injunctions and get arrests. He says there are intel agents conducting operations on social media, and they will be exposed. So again, it's a pretty fascinating thing to hear him say this because this is the same problem I've got. So let's keep our eye on that ball. The big, beautiful bill finally passed after 8 hours of hogwash. And again, you know, everybody has a different opinion on this kind of stuff. I see that there was a lot of things that the alliance really needed to get done that are in there. Yes, there's pork in there. I wouldn't deny that at all. So it's kind of a mixed bag here, but you got to be happy with what you get right now. We haven't seen the kayfabe drop. We haven't seen the real truth. I would just love to get the truth. Don't you want the truth? I would love to finally get the truth. We have a donation, and this is Ruth Bass. I thought she said Ruth Sass at first. I'm like, sassy Ruth. Thank you, David, for mentioning Texas. Prayers while they are recovering bodies. Speculation of weather control keeps being brought up. Absolutely. It sucks no matter what, especially little girls still missing. That was our July 4th thing. We were expecting something like that to happen. Dude, we're at 3,842 viewers now. It's going up fast. It is exhausting, David, says Nicole Dominic. Marina says, I want the truth so bad it hurts. Thank you, Ruth, says Lisa Marie 2464. So yeah, look into the history of Camp Mystic, says John Patrick, saying that to Ruth Bass. We know the truth. It's in our DNA. Am I in time for this transmission, says Lionheart? Yes. We're going through the week's news, and we're doing that quickly so we can get into our time loop slides. So this bill, I think, was a good thing. There's stuff in there that the Alliance really needed that'll keep us safer. So again, there is some pork in there too. It's a mixed bag. Then the big happiness of the week was that on the 4th, we had no big terror attacks other than the flood that happened soon thereafter. And we were very afraid of this. So on the same day, Hamas was supposed to answer in 24 hours on a final peace proposal. It might not happen that fast, but it's getting done, you know? And we have other weird things going on. This huge military cargo plane flies and lands at Alligator Alcatraz. And so I just tried to take a picture where you could see the fence. You can see some buildings in the background. There's a military sign right underneath that you can see in this shot here where the green line is, and then the white line, it's got all this mold on it, and that is the Alligator Alcatraz facility. So a massive military cargo plane has been spotted flying in. Well, who the hell is on there? Have certain high-value targets already been arrested? Is this an alternative to Cuba that's happening in Florida? It could be, you know, because we know about Guantanamo. Who the hell was in that plane? Is there stuff already going on that we don't know about? Have certain people already been nabbed? That's entirely possible. Because again, why would they tell us this? I don't know. I mean, it's very, very interesting. So then there was a positive response to the ceasefire. This is really, really great. They submitted a positive response as pressure is mounting. Tens of thousands of Israelis joining hostage families at mass rallies. So people are out in the streets protesting. Hamas has given a positive response. That means the whole thing could be coming to an end. Maybe, I mean, maybe they're not going to do the arrests until these wars are over. Maybe they actually have decided they're going to end the wars first before they do the arrests. But if so, then the DS is going to be like, well, then we're just never going to let the war end because we don't want the arrest to happen. So I also thought that the arrests might happen while the wars are still going. I really don't know. We're just about to hit 4,000 right now. Sandra Hutchins just donated $50. Thank you very much. Celebrating your 5th super chat. Woo! So again, this is great. This coming week may be very exciting. We're going to get the ceasefire, then we're going to get the peace talks, and they've submitted a positive response. So that's very, very good. Internet disruption. I mean, what are the odds, right? Could there be a deliberate attack going on? In Iran, they've had this massive internet blackout. And it just so happens that they just had a war last week. So is that just a random thing? You guys know the answer. None of this stuff is random. Everything weird that you see has the DS behind it. So could this be trying to soften them up for another round of attack? It's possible. It would be great if the whole thing really ends, and I hope it does, but they might try to do more. So just be aware. That could be another unexpected plot twist, and this internet attack may be setting that up. So, wasn't this strange? Did you catch this? Fighter jet intercepts a plane violating restricted airspace over the Bedminster Golf Club. Yeah, how odd timing of that. Oh my God, there's a chipmunk crawling right up the screen window. I just fed you guys. See, if I don't feed them enough, they want to see, like, Daddy, what's going on? Well, they eat really fast. I'm throwing out probably about 5 rounds a day. We'll feed them when I'm on my bathroom break. But again, thank you guys for being here. The wars will never end, and you know it, says Lexi Abbey. No, I think they will. I think they will. This is all going to work out. I mean, it's just very frustrating because we're in the middle of this thing. A lot of you guys are probably dealing with extraordinary summer heat right now. Heat waves. Oh my God, this chipmunk is like all the way up on the screen door. He's just crawling all around. He really wants to get my attention, but no, we're not going to feed him for another hour. And then unfortunately, we were expecting something bad. We were expecting some type of negative event. And sure enough, Texas has this flood. And it killed 46 people. This was on my mother's birthday and my friend Jude's birthday, both July 5th. 46 people killed, 27 children missing. So yes, once you understand who these people really are, that they are that evil, that they are practicing in Satanism, unfortunately, this very much seems to be weather-applied attacks designed to appease their negative gods with the thing that the negative gods want the most, which is human misery, suffering, and death. So this is not going to keep on happening, but again, Michael brilliantly predicted this in the time loop, so a certain amount of these things have to be allowed to happen because of our collective free will. Our collective karma is such that these events do need to take place, apparently. And so it's very sad, but, you know, it's all going to lead somewhere positive. So then, again, this is on... Who wrote this one? This was Inside Paper. 27 girls are missing from a Riverside summer camp in the U.S. state of Texas. And again, remember, the name of the river that flooded was Guadalupe. And Michael mentions that in the time loop. So he was aware this was going to happen. Catherine Karate donated $99.99. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Devastating flooding that killed at least 43 people. And then, of course, as you probably have seen, the Wrestlemania kayfabe goes on because he's saying that the president will bankrupt the company, bankrupt the country. No, I don't think that's true. And he's creating his own party to challenge the one-party system. Well, again, I think this is all. I mean, I don't think that I don't think they're fighting. I think the alliance told them to do this. I think he's doing what they agreed. And there's bigger reasons for this, which is to stop everybody from being so polarized. Oh, these two guys are the evil ones, and then the media, the television is good. People are not buying into that anymore. We're also getting to the bottom of the paid opposition that's coming our way. A soldier behind the New York City revolution operation. Sounds like these organizations want to destroy this country, uncovered by a YouTuber. So overall, I believe that what this is saying is, again, the propaganda is no longer working. People are seeing it for what it is. It is upsetting, but we need to look at it. And CNN was stunned because the majority of us back this plan. Look at the percentages. New York Times 55, Marquette 64, CBS 57, ABC 56. No matter what they do, no matter how they try to finagle this, no matter how they try to create loaded polls, and they just can't manipulate this to make it look like they're in a majority anymore. Because people are figuring out, no, we really don't want this. There's a reason why you regulate this stuff and keep it going. So here we are. We're at the 1 hour mark now, and we're already, again, because I'm doing this quickly this week, I actually feel pretty good. I mean, once I actually said that I'm not happy, you know, that I'm tired of being on the air. I'm tired of doing this every week, bankrupt. It'll be more fun if I have some money and I'm not totally bankrupt. So again, please come out to the show in Denver, Boulder, wherever we end up doing it, or buy tickets for the online event. We'll offer some discounts if you do the early bird thing. We're probably going to do it somewhere like maybe the first week of September. I got to give it enough time that you guys can prepare for your trip, but it could be like the first weekend of September is one window we're looking at. I won't know until I pick a venue and a date, but I think we're going to have to do that because I just cannot handle not having an income, and I need something to happen. So I know you guys really want to see me in person. I know there's a lot of you who will really be excited about this because it's been so long since I've done any type of event that was my own event. I've done a couple other events, but none where I really was the headliner and the main star. So this is going to be great, and I'm really looking forward to it. So now, at 1 hour, we're already into it, man. We're already into Archangel Michael's time loops because, again, the title of this week's talk is Dazzling Time Loops. So we left off last week at April 21st, 1999, which is, again, right here on this tape. It actually ends on the 22nd, but it says 4/21/99 on there. And then, again, we have this huge gap after the 22nd where I don't dictate again until the 30th. Michael doesn't really come back until May 11th. But what we've got in the meantime is quite amazing, you guys. So, the next dream from the 21st featured Luke Skywalker. And you remember last week I cut the Luke Skywalker dream out. So now that Luke Skywalker showed up twice, we're going to go back and we're going to retrieve that old dream from last week for context because it is interesting. And this dream popped in 2 days before the Columbine school shooting, which unfortunately now is much less of a uncommon event. These types of weird atrocities happen fairly often. It's just the nature of what's going on in our world today. So this is a very weird, complex, interesting dream that has lots of different sections, and I'll just summarize it by saying that it seems to be delving into the criminal psychology of the people who would do these terror attacks from my own first-person character. So in my dream, I become one of the two kids from Columbine, because again, this came out on April 18th. The Columbine shooting was on the 20th. So this dream showed up 2 days before the shooting took place. Now, the kids in the shooting were wearing trench coats. In the dream, I am with another person. We end up wearing trench coats. But what was so strange is, in the dream, we don't shoot anybody. We end up being loved, and everything's fine. So everybody is ultimately going to be reunited with the Creator. Everybody gets back home. No matter what level of criminality you've done, karma will allow you to balance all that off. So this is a very interesting statement about the negative. And again, Michael uses me as the fall guy for the negative from a first-person perspective. My character embodies some of the things of the negative. And Michael does that on purpose just to show that I'm not being treated with favoritism and to make a point. Because the first-person perspective is what dreams really emanate from. So here we go. The first part of it is very emblematic of how all of us are feeling, as I talked about at the beginning. There were all these people lined up. Each one of them had a baseball bat in hand, and they were all going to target me in a firing line. So the idea was that they're going to start tossing baseballs up into the air, whack them with the bat, and try to hit me with the baseball. That is about what everything feels like right now, without being specific. And they expected me to stand there and take it. They thought it was funny, and I told them they were foolish, and I refused to stand there. So again, as I just said, this is symbolic of the ongoing attacks that we're all facing. This is how all of us are feeling right now. So how funny, right, that the dream begins with this massive attack of people trying to hit me with baseballs. That's what life feels like, it does suck, but I'm not going to make it better by just being in grief and not doing a show. The Alliance keeps saying that it's very important that I do this, or others do this too. I'm not the only one covering this stuff, of course. Very important that we keep the word out. And again, once they do this, the whole world is completely changed. It's all very annoying up until they do it. But once they do it, we're going to be in a totally new reality. There will never be any going back. Everybody's perception will radically shift. So again, I start out by people trying to hit me with baseballs, which is emblematic of what we're all feeling. Now we'll get to the next part. I ended up going into Schenectady. That was a town next to where I grew up in New York. It was late at night, sort of seedy. I wasn't very calm. My brother was with me, and I had my bicycle. We got to a certain place. My friend Jude was standing out there, hanging out. When he saw us, it changed the whole course of his evening. And I said to Jude, "What are you doing staying out here in the middle of the night?" Well, again, I just said Jude's birthday was yesterday. We just texted yesterday. I wished him a happy birthday. So that's interesting that I'd have a dream about Jude come up the day after his birthday. And it's 1:11 p.m. right now. Francois Belhumeur, about the 3 people in the pyramid, something I heard in 1999 in private. Well, there could be people in the pyramid. That's definitely interesting things to think about. So again, Jude just had a birthday, and what are the odds that the time loop has a dream with Jude in it? And the bicycle is a very important symbol of ascension. It moves you faster than you can by walking, so it represents a vibrational increase. So what are you doing staying out here in the middle of the night in Schenectady? Once we start talking, and this is again how we all feel like we're endangered, this is essentially the ghetto where he's hanging out. Once we started talking about him staying out late at night, it became past tense. It was something he had done before but wasn't doing anymore. He said he remembered all those nights where he was standing around and wasting time. But he said he was way past that point now. I understood where he was coming from. So again, he's not staying up late anymore. And this is partly it's about me. Like, I definitely have become, I mean, I've never ever been this productive where I'm doing a show every single week for an entire year. More than a year now. A year and a half, I've been just very, very consistent. I don't stay up late. I always go to bed around 11 or 11:30 at the latest, maybe midnight sometimes, not really. I definitely don't stay up any later than that. Vacapalo says it would be great mid-August to the end of August, right before school starts. I'll be there in the front row. Yeah, the end of August is another window we're looking at. Thank you for that vote of encouragement. I do want to get this done, and so we may actually, you're right, if we do it during the time where people's kids aren't back in school, that might allow more people to come. So let me just ask you guys this right here. Would you prefer that I get it done sometime in August, or would you prefer that I wait until September? Let's just hear what you guys. Stephen is the one harassing Dave and others online. That's right. We already talked about him. So just I want to hear from you guys. Would you prefer anybody that has a comment, August or September? Aaron H. says August. Kitsy Witty says August. Carol says August. Nicole Dominic says September. Callie August. Chi Mover September. Peachy Keen September. Vacapalo August definitely. Russell Postula mid-September. September is much cooler. August, September. Now we're getting a whole bunch of them. They're all coming in. It looks like it's about 60, 70% August, maybe even more. So I think that, you know, these are the wolves of democracy, right? We got to just see what people really want. We're doing a poll right now. Marcus Cohen says do a poll. I would love it in August. Where is this event? I don't know where it is yet. Again, I'm going to book an event. If you guys want to come out, I mean, it would really be great. And, you know, we probably are going to do a smaller venue rather than a larger venue. Nothing around here is really more than about 275 to 300 seats in general. Some of the venues are only like 150 seats. That's not really enough. So, yeah, but it looks like, thank you guys for voting. There's definitely a lot of people that say September, and there's definitely a lot of people that say August. I think there's more August than September. So we will try to keep everybody happy as best I can. I don't think it's going to be very hot here at the end of August. It's really not that bad. But yeah, maybe I'll do a poll on X. That's a good idea. Cooler temperatures in September. Okay, well, thank you guys. I think that we're definitely seeing more August than September. I apologize for those of you who maybe didn't get it the way you want, but it also depends on dates. If I have a venue that I want to do and we can't get in there in August, we're definitely going to have to do September. But clearly, if we do it in September, the earlier the better. So one way or another, we're going to try to keep it either very early in September or late in August, but I will keep you guys posted. So I don't stay up late anymore, and I'm not abusing myself that way. And this isn't just about me. This is about humanity growing up while we're under the attack of all these people trying to hit us with baseballs. I felt like I had a big house that I could bring these people back to. We were trying to devise a way to do this. So this is, again, my brother, Jude, and me. And I said, let's just go back and hang out in my house. And again, the big house is where I am now, so that's a prophetic future vision. All three of us wanted to ride on one bicycle. My brother started to check for axle pegs that you could stand on the axles of the wheels. He acted like he might be willing to stand on the bolts coming out of the back to just deal with that, even though there were no pegs. So what does this mean as a dream? We all have to ride the bicycle. We all have to cooperate, and that's why Michael didn't let my company get financed a year ago. This whole experience for me would be very, very different if I had money. if I wasn't so bankrupt. But as a result of not, I'm on the same par with everybody else. And, once everybody's fine, then I'll be fine. I think that's what it's going to be. Like, right as everything works out is when I'm finally going to not have to worry about this anymore. But yes, you guys, there's a whole bunch of you that sound excited about this event. So we have almost 4,000 people watching right now. So let's definitely, please be ready to come out. And again, when I announce this, the tickets are probably going to sell out really, really fast. So if you want to get in there live, if you want to be in person, I would highly recommend you buy them immediately. But we are going to try to have some type of streaming option lined up as well. And we're exploring different ways to do that, whether it's going to be a team that we hire and bring in, whether I would do it myself, which might not be as good because we want people that are really trained. But we're going to figure out a way to get this done. So we all have to ride the bicycle together. My view was that this wasn't really going to go anywhere. He would slip and fall off the bicycle. Then I thought, wouldn't it be great if we had a portable bicycle that you could keep in your pocket folded up? Then you could unfold it and bring it out. And as soon as I said that, my brother's old bike suddenly manifested out of nowhere. So what about the foldable bicycle in your pocket? Well, this is definitely prophetic of the disclosure of advanced technology. Again, the part that almost no one else in the Patriot community seems to really understand is that the Alliance is behind the UFO reverse engineering, and many of these people want us to have the truth. And so when we get the truth, it's going to include disclosure. It's very, very exciting. You can see how everything is being set up. Yes, it's hard to wait, but when it comes, it's going to be really, really amazing. So the foldable bicycle, huh? My brother Mike was going to sit on the seat. Jude was going to pedal. That was the best arrangement we could come up with. Then somehow the scenery shifted from Schenectady to Albany, and Jude and Michael disappeared. And I definitely knew that there was some sort of surveillance camera watching me. Well, that's again something we're all going through. We all feel that. I then became a third-person observer of myself as if I had become Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. Luke had wanted to escape into his room that night because he knew he was being watched. So now I'm going back to the house by myself, and I want to hide away. And again, this is like the part of me that doesn't want to be on the air, love to take a break for the holidays or whatever. No, I'm still going to be here. And this was being done by somebody at the ARE, like blank, the person who met with me about my reincarnation. Now, the ARE was, again, the Edgar Cayce spiritual organization. And in 1998, I visited them, and I had the same face as Edgar Cayce, the same astrology. And I was not treated with respect, and I was not welcomed at all. In fact, the scuttlebutt that came back to me was that David, if David is the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, he's of no use to us. He's got too much free thinking. We can't control him. He swears, and he used to use drugs, marijuana, so like, woo, we got to deauthorize that. We can't let him be in any position of authority. Like, well, yeah, but I'm sober now. I mean, I used before. That's what I was talking to him about. It's like, well, anyway, institutional oppression is something I've been up against many, many times. I've had various things like this happen to me, as you know. And he ended up hiding under his bed to avoid the surveillance from this allegedly spiritual organization. Well, that's very interesting for reasons we're not going to go into, but you can probably do the math. But for everybody, this is prophetic of how the DS is tracking us. And they are a spiritual organization. It's just not the kind of spirituality everybody else has. We are the hero in the storyline, just like Luke Skywalker. So again, I'm hiding out under the bed from this spiritual organization, but I needed this glove that I could use to fight them. So Luke used the Force to get his glove. It looked similar to the ones that John uses on the farm. I myself have used gloves just like this to haul dead carcasses of fish into our pickup truck, and they stink, man, my God. So we could put them into the compost pile. So that's about as nasty as you can imagine. Apparently, Luke believed that this magic glove would enhance his abilities to fight back against this spiritual organization. So this is symbolic of cleaning up the deadness in our lives and becoming the hero. In other words, the fish glove, be a fisher of men, right? The fish are a very important symbol because in the Bible there's a net and it catches 153 fishes. I've got my own net now. I don't know if this is for butterflies or frogs or fish or what. Somebody gave me this. Maybe, we'll figure it out. But anyway, it also kind of seems like the glove from the Avengers with the Infinity Stones and that kind of thing. But a more positive version of that. We had a donation come in. Enjoy your banana bread or whatever you like, says Nelly Saraum. Nelly Saraum. Let's make sure I didn't miss anybody else. Yeah, Leslie Wardman, thank you. And then Dor Etgar, have you ever tried Morning Glory for dreams? Morning Glory seeds are supposed to be really nasty and make you like sick and start tripping. So I would not be taking Morning Glory seeds. I'll just say that. So anyway, he's hiding out. Remember, the dream started out, people are trying to hit me with baseballs. Then he finds out he's under surveillance from this spiritual organization. He's hiding under the bed because he doesn't want them staring at him, but he needs this glove. So this is symbolic of how the hero in all of us, the Luke Skywalker in all of us, is using our higher abilities now, using telekinesis in this case to bring in the healing that we so desperately need as a planet. That's where this is all going. As Luke Skywalker, I was able to use telekinesis and levitate the glove off of my desk. I psychically moved it right onto my hand and it slipped on perfectly, and then the alarm went off, and the Luke Skywalker character, who I'm watching now in third person, says, "Damn it." After the alarm went off, Luke's closest friend showed up at the house, and Luke answered the door. This is where it's going to get into the Columbine section. So, the metaphor again is that these guys thought they were fighting against oppressive teenagers that had bullied them and they wanted to fight back. They saw the Matrix, they wore the same clothing, and they go in there and they do this heinous atrocity. So at this point, again, the glove is a glove for being a fisher of men, and it's fish guts. It's like gutted fish that stink that we were using with those gloves. As soon as the glove comes on, of the fish guts glove, the buddy shows up at the door. So now let's see what happens next. He looked like a nerdy keyboard player I had worked with in high school. Yes, the point is that they were nerds when they did this. They both actually dressed up like Darth Vader with the classic black Darth Vader helmet and their long black leather jackets, like the Matrix. So it's like Darth Vader and Matrix combined. As I walked away after dressing up like this, I was then looking at myself from behind. The leather cape did not go all the way down, but the jacket looked similar to the one worn by Morpheus in the Matrix. And again, that movie had only come out like 3 weeks ago. So the long jackets, well, this is the 18th. The Columbine shootings were only 2 days later. Both of the shooters wore these Matrix-style jackets. And I believe this is showing how the fear of the DS, remember, people were hitting me with baseballs. I was afraid of surveillance. I'm hiding out under my bed. And so this is showing how these kids took on the persona of Darth Vader. They took on the persona of evil because in their own misguided view, they felt they were fighting back against this evil that was happening to them. They don't want to be surveilled. They don't want to hide under the bed. They don't want to have the baseballs hitting them. I know what that feels like, but violence is not the answer. They each wore this rubber Darth Vader head mask. When they actually put the masks on, it didn't look like it was rubber anymore. They both thought they were badass. And again, both the Columbine shooters dressed up in these trench coats like we saw in the Matrix. And this is also prophetic of our mandatory masking that we all went through. So that's another layer of the meaning, that everybody was kind of made to go into this Darth Vader warlike mode, and you have to put this on your face. And there's look at that, 3666. I don't know if you can see that here. How funny, I'm talking about Darth Vader and we get 3666. The throttling phenomenon may be happening again. We're not breaking beyond 4,000. Every time it starts to get close, it mysteriously drops back down by a few hundred. That's probably being done on purpose. I think that we're back to the 4,000 cap that we had before, which, I'm just going to keep doing the show regardless of what happens. And again, doing a conference will help augment my income. So thank you in advance for signing up for that. These two guys were now walking down the hallway. Oh, now we're at 3929. That just happened. So we're around 4,000. Let's hope it goes higher. Walking down the hallway of the high school together, I looked at the back of my character. The leather jacket he was wearing had a slit in the back where you could see a white shirt. And it was definitely from a restaurant job like when I worked at Cavalier Hotel. It appeared to be a cooking or working employment shirt, and it was white. So again, I believe that what this is saying is that when young people have terrible jobs, they get this sense of hopelessness, which in some sad cases, people turn into becoming a terrorist or an attacker or doing violence. Again, please don't do that. But this is just talking about the psychological process of how the getting hit by baseballs and people laughing at you and hiding out from surveillance makes people want to do this kind of stuff. They were walking, so the restaurant shirt is key because, again, underneath those costumes is the grunt job that he's working. They were walking down a wall made of glass blocks of different colors, like where the sophomores were in my high school in the science wing. All of these people were trying to talk to us. They even said that we were beautiful, because now we're in the school in this costume. This is 2 days before Columbine. We're in the costumes, dressed up as Darth Vader, wearing trench coats in the school. But instead of any violence happening, people tell us that we're beautiful and they love us. And again, this was interesting because I construed the Darth Vader outfit to be antisocial. So this has been very, very interesting symbolism here. Since a woman talked to me and said I look beautiful, I started saying very nice things to her. I rubbed her hand, other things like that. Right after I connected with her, my sort of girlfriend, sort of not girlfriend, we just broke up really quickly. Marsha's mother was sitting on the ground, looked me in the eye and realized it was me. She said my name, and I was really surprised. So here I believe the mother symbolizes angelic beings. I asked her how she knew it was me. She said my compassion shined through regardless of what was on the outside. It just warmed my heart when she said that, and she then reached up and kissed me right on the lips. Wasn't anything too intense, just a short one. Then the Darth Vader costume I was wearing just disappeared, and I was myself again. It was a Sleeping Beauty type of theme. Well, there you go. The love healed the wounds. The love made the Darth Vader go away. Edna Korinsky, thanks for keeping your shows going. 3 hours seems reasonable. It helps to conserve your energy. Yeah, and there is definitely something very, very strange going on with the hit counter where it will not go above 4,000, and every time it gets close, it drops back down by like 350. We're now at 3649. It's very anomalous, very strange, but this is the last dream like this, and then we're going to get a lot more Michael stuff happening. So again, the Darth Vader costume disappeared. That's the point. Love heals these wounds. If these kids that are so damaged were just given more love, they wouldn't be that way. So when the planet is purged of this negative cult influence, it will be much happier for everyone, and there will be a lot less violence because people are going to feel that love in their lives. It's not going to be so polarized, and I can't wait for that. So then I cued on the word Skopje, which is one of the towns in Yugoslavia where the Kosovo War is currently happening at the time of 1999. Just last night, when I was on the phone with Jude, as I unsealed this, he revealed that his father's last name was Skold. And the first 3 letters of these names are exactly the same. So I heard that, and then I unsealed this the following morning on June 4th, and it was like, whoa, okay, that's pretty interesting. I unsealed the new 1999 data the very next morning after he revealed that his father's last name was Skold. Then I found myself in a big house, looked like Phyllis's kitchen on 70th Street. That's where I lived for a while. There were some developmentally disabled people in the house, and my old smoking buddy was there, Brad. He wanted me to steal some of this stuff out of the side closet of 621, which wouldn't have been mine. I wasn't too hip on that at all. I said, look, if you really need some, I have it upstairs. You don't need to steal any. So again, developmentally disabled people symbolizes all of us. We are the disabled according to Michael because we don't see the spiritual truth that we're living in. So again, this is all symbolic of, you don't want to be the disabled, you don't want to steal, so this is about turning against the programming that they're giving us, just like in the previous section where the Darth Vader costume just disappeared. At some point, he turned into another buddy I had from high school named Joe. He was even more burned out and antisocial than Brad. Brad was fairly popular. Joe brought out all these dishes of strange-looking food that he had cooked up in my own kitchen in the house I grew up in. They were stacked up, and he was going to try to feed all these people in the house with us. At This is symbolic of feeding people who have not been awakened yet. Why I need to do the show today. Not that you guys are not awakened, but, you know, I got to keep putting out the food. I got pretty angry at him. I said, look, it's just not going to happen. I said, my mother would kill me if we tried to eat everything out of her kitchen and give it all away. I told him how ridiculous this was. I wasn't going to feed them anything. And then he started trying to apologize. So my character is actually the bad guy here. It's a good thing to feed people in the dream. It's not a bad thing. So if I'm not willing to do it, it symbolizes how people don't want to reach out to others. They don't want to be part of that. This is most people's attitude that Law of One calls service to self. Then I was in the kitchen trying to clean up the mess of this greasy chicken that he had cooked, and that was prophetic of the recent comedy. Second time they did that, right? About the 5 grease groups. So that was really, really funny because I've been joking on about grease, and you got lard, you got hog grease, chicken grease, dairy grease, and vegetable grease. I think that's all of them. Anyway, it's very, very funny that it showed up again in a dream. From 99. The pan was even bigger than the one he'd cooked the chicken in. It was like a turkey pan or even larger. There was all this greasy water in the pan that we poured down the drain, and I had recently cleaned all the chicken grease off my cooktop before I unsealed this. And then right before I unsealed this again, I had cleaned out all these old plastic containers with chicken grease in them that were sitting in my sink. And again, just the other day, on July 4th, is when I built these slides. Again, I cleaned off all my plastic containers right before I unsealed this, so I even took a picture of it for you. I said, what the hell, let's prove this. I'll do it as a portrait. There's my chicken containers that I had just cleaned, and literally, it was like I had just done this, and then I go and unseal the dream, and I'm like, whoa, okay, very cool. We're at $39.55. Maybe we'll break above 4,000. There can still be hope here. Mina12Y just donated $12 or 12 pounds, so thank you very much. Anyway, there you have it. The time loops are so bizarre. You know, when I have just cleaned these containers and then it shows up that I'm fighting against grease in the sink right away after I did that. Like, I literally cleaned these. I go back to my desk, start transcribing, start unsealing. Boom, there it is. So that was amazing. And then also, when I first had unsealed this in a very initial way back on June 10th, 2023, as I was building the Michael Prophecies books, I had used a jar of coconut oil to try to hold the stopper down in my bath. But once the tub filled and heated, the oil inside all dissolved and it got filled with water. I had to dump the liquid oil down the toilet and flush it. It didn't want to flush at first. I was worried I'd clogged it. I had to try to flush it twice in a row. The water refill valve was on a very slow rate. So Joe said my mother would love me for dumping the grease down the sink. And I realized he was right. This was a bad move. So again, all this weird grease synchronicity, including when I first unsealed it in 23. I tried to send hot water down there, hopefully meaning the grease wouldn't stick as much. There was giblets and stuff like that in the pan, like a gizzard. And I wondered why my mother had segregated that part. Why did she want to eat the stomach but wouldn't eat other things like the heart? So again, this is symbolic of humanity not yet fully reaching the heart, I believe. I don't know if this dream is telling me to eat chicken or not, because remember, at the time I was vegan, but it was definitely gross. My friend Joe was still trying to set up a table to feed people who were disabled in the house. I told him no, and then the dream ended. So in spiritual terms, most of us are disabled compared to Michael's view, the developmentally disabled. He does want me to feed people and keep the show going. So this is about us learning to love each other. So we had omitted this dream last week, but you can see it's very complex. And we ran through until the end of April 21st, 1999. We missed the last dream from April 21st, 1999 in our previous show. This dream lands on that same morning around 8:30 a.m. So early along, there was a toy I had like a jack-in-the-box, and I recognized it was mine. It was also like the magic demon box that I had got at Disney World, where you could open it up and hide coins inside. This was the demonic toy I bought when I was there in 1984. A light blue monster hand comes out of the box, grabs the coin you put into the slot, and the box also wobbles. So I believe that this toy symbolizes the public's recognition of the demonic thieving DS. And of course, look at where I got the toy. It's all tied in with showbiz and all that kind of stuff. So right away, you can see the dream is talking about the demonic. You are missing thousands on Rumble, says Lorraine Vaughn. Well, I can only do one really platform at a time, so I'm sorry if you want to see me on Rumble and I'm not there for what you want, but this is what we're doing. So anyway, Eric, my friend, this is my first buddy from like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, up through sixth grade. We were friends the whole time. He was at the house he grew up in that was near mine. He had a huge garden area, similar to John's land, and the garden was not being used. There it is again, the idea that I need to feed people. So like I was thinking about not doing a show this weekend, but then all these dreams are saying, no, you got to feed people. So once again, now I have before it was the chicken, and my friend Joe wanted to feed everybody with this chicken. And I'm like, I don't want you to give away all of our food. And now here's a garden that's not being used. So that again, these messages were very clear that the show must go on, and I'm doing it. I really felt it was important that he go out there and do some work with the land. Well, that was talking to me. So I heard that, Michael, and I'm on the air again. His mother seemed to poo-poo the idea, and then I reminded her about the tribulation. Since she was fundamentalist, that seemed to change everything for her. In other words, it's a weird feeling of responsibility, right? If I don't do this show, if I'm not active enough on this program, then we really could end up with a different timeline. I am essential, apparently, to whatever Archangel Michael and his angelic Christian ET friends are doing. And again, the work that I brought through was done with remote viewing protocols that supposedly give you 99% accuracy. Dreams are another thing that are accurate because you either remember them or you don't. I don't fabricate dream data. If I don't remember anything, I don't write anything down. But every morning I write down my dreams. I had one this morning that was great. So again, the idea here is that if we don't go out there and do some work with the land, and this is not just me, Michael is talking to you too. You are being encouraged to push beyond your limits. You are being encouraged to do more spiritual feeding of others. You are being encouraged to tend your own garden. Why? Because if we don't do this, we're going to get tribulation type of events, which we don't want. And so she was fundamentalist, and that changed everything for her. She realized, yeah, we better do the garden. So this is again symbolic of the grain metaphor, the wheat, which is a harvest ascension theme. We are in the tribulation right now, and it is important for us to serve. We need to tend the garden. So this is the new symbol that we're getting of the need to spiritually feed others. We had another symbol of it before, which was the chicken. Now we've got the garden. Now the dream is going to discuss the things that distract us. I was at this strange barn in a farming area, a little bit like John's, but dark and more livestock-oriented, and I met a woman who looked like Jamie Lee Curtis. All she had on was a white button-down shirt, and it was wide open. Her boobs were hanging out. She might have had underwear on for a while, but that was it. So here's this woman who looks sort of like Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's basically naked with just, a shirt on that's totally unbuttoned. And she's just hanging out and acting like there's no big deal. Pramila Kalaga says, I hope the arrests happen and the world changes for the better this year. I do certainly believe it will. Heidi M. donated. Thank you very much. Lorraine Vaughn says, Rumble wants David. That might be cool. Okay, Rumble, says Lorraine Vaughn. Sickman Dwayne says, thank you so much for what you provide. Mina12Y, I think I got that one already. Okay, so if you donate, I should still be able to catch up with that. Thank you guys for being here. So anyway, you can do both Rumble and YouTube simultaneously, David. You would attract thousands of new viewers. Rumble likes the truth. Well, again, I'll look into it, but I'm happy with the platform we have here. And, we're, again, mysteriously cannot go above 4,000. We're now at 3,883. It just never... So whatever is happening before is happening again. I think this is deliberately manipulated. I think the number's higher. But anyway, whatever. So topless women. Then I met a female I knew from college named Beth. Oh my gosh. Obviously, that's my ex-wife's name. I hadn't even thought about her since I was in college and active in my substance use, so this is a pretty dazzling synchronicity. And she looks similar in a lot of ways to Celia, a woman who I nearly had moved in with. The first woman said that the open shirt was how she decided to dress that day, meaning she basically wants to be naked. I was pretty amazed to be seeing her like that. Before too long, Beth was draped over me, sitting in my lap, and the woman who looked like Jamie Lee Curtis was off to my right. Someone else was talking to me, and they were amazed I had all these women hanging off of me. So this is prophetic of the loose boundaries that I had in my Egyptian incarnation. Apparently, I built the pyramid, Rata, and I had multiple partners. I had multiple wives. Yep, that set the whole planet off on a negative slant, as it turns out. And so I've had to redo that karma over again because it had a devastating effect upon the planet. So one of the lessons in this lifetime has been to be strictly monogamous and not play around with that type of polyamorous, negative perspective, really, is what it is. Then I became aware of a character who seemed to be very shady. I got the sense that he had been murdering people or maybe even murdering himself, and now we were starting to identify him, and suddenly he broke and made a run for it. Once he made a run for it, everything changed. So that character represents me. Michael had to set me up in this lifetime where I'm not going to have the womanizing. I spend, 4 years in total aloneness, isolation up here in the cabin. There's been the one woman I kind of opened up to just died. I'm still kind of reeling from that. And anyway, the idea is that if you are polyamorous, if you are a womanizer, you're going to be murdering other people and yourself. And then that part of me had to make a run for it. I'm not living that way now. I've healed those parts of myself. So that's what happens. And then all of a sudden, the dream turns into another Luke Skywalker thing. 3888 concurrent viewers right now. Another Luke Skywalker thing. So I was now helping to make a new Star Wars movie. So again, the Luke Skywalker character probably symbolizes me in a positive way. Now that I'm not murdering others and murdering myself, and I'm not engaged in womanizing anymore, this is also symbolic of all of us, the healing that we have needed together. George Lucas was the director. The film had many elements of Star Wars in it. I was asking him about certain filming techniques and how he did certain things. There was a connection between what he thought he was filming and the reality, which was that these guys were into all this corrupt stuff. It wasn't just the guy we were chasing. It was a whole group of people who were corrupt. Well, there you go. Hollywood film, group of people who are corrupt. You see the point here. This is prophetic of what's going on right now that we all see. It was very much like a Star Wars movie. So again, fighting against corruption, that's the arrests, that's the alliance. And Luke Skywalker is the hero that we all are as we're trying to see this come into fruition. We want this to happen. We don't want to stay stuck anymore. Look at this. Luke was firing missiles at different ships that were coming in. That sounds exactly like the Iran-Israel war. And here it is in 1999. Very prophetic. We were really hoping that the missiles were going to connect. The war itself was very much like an air war. Oh my God. So we have become the hero who needs to defeat the DS, and this is prophetic of the war that we just went through, and the fact that, yes, some of it is physical. But it was the war only happened, the Star Wars hero thing, the Ascension theme, only comes up after this guy who was negative goes on the run, and then we identify that it's a whole group. The misinterpretation of whatever I did as Rata apparently led to this DS forming in the first place. And that's why I've had such a really hard life, because I did create incredible mistakes and problems by, womanizing and doing these things that were negative. So how about that, huh? The prophecy of the war in Israel that just happened as a Star Wars movie here. Very interesting. We were really hoping we were going to pull through this alive. I think everybody was in that place. I wondered if I should snap into the observation seat myself because I wanted to help Luke Skywalker. There were a few times where we fired missiles and really hoped they were going to connect. Then at the last minute, they finally did. So this is symbolic of the war's ending, and it's again prophetic of the missile exchanges we did see. There was a nice tree in the middle of the battlefield. It had a whole bunch of glass bulbs hanging off it. This is the Christ, a Christmas tree. After firing off all the missiles, I realized we had blown up this beautiful tree of glass. It resembled a Christmas tree, but it only had Christmas bulbs on it, nothing else. And there was only a string of 4 little bulbs left. So this is saying, again, Michael doesn't want anybody to die. And the idea is that these wars are very tragic because people are dying, and that's killing part of the Christ's own essence. We're all part of the Christ. So we don't want the tree to be destroyed. After the big glass tree was destroyed, there were very few Christmas-type bulbs left. I figured since it was all broken, I might as well step on the 4 that were still intact. We were cleaning them up anyway. I went around and started stepping on the ones that remained. Beth said something like, "Why does no one care about the ornaments of the tree once it is broken?" Very interesting. And so this is talking about how the DS is trying to get us to not care about people's death. Oh, it's collateral damage. Oh, it doesn't really matter. No, it really does. So we don't want to have that kind of laissez-faire attitude towards the loss of life. We do want to care about the ornaments of the tree when it's broken. We do want to preserve life as much as we can. It's very important. And again, it's prophetic because Beth is my ex-wife's name. So she's doing a really good thing here. Michael wants us to save as many lives as possible. Beth's comment got me thinking. I realized I should save the beautiful ornaments that remained and not smash them all. This is where we're supposed to go. We all want to get to this point where we're not going to support evil anymore. The battlefield then became the front yard of my house at 621, and then it got even more interesting. My early childhood friend Dave rode up on a big wheels plastic tricycle that was black. There might have been a little red and white on it, like the handlebars might have been white. Anyway, his deal was that he had a motorized big wheels that went pretty fast, had an impressive sound. For a kid, this would be like the greatest toy ever. He was driving right through where this glass tree had been destroyed. He didn't seem to care about driving over the broken bulbs. He was very proud of his big wheels. And again, this is symbolic that many people are still too careless. Then he told me he had a coaxial cable, and he wanted to go and bring it to me and asked me if that was okay. I said that it was. So the coaxial cable symbolizes connections, symbolizes spirituality like broadband and Ascension. So this is very, very cool because after the missile war, some people have died, the Christmas tree got damaged, we're not supposed to smash any more bulbs. Then we get the coaxial cable, we connect to the broadband. So this does talk about the present, and it is another great prophecy that broadband connection is coming, that we will have Ascension this year, as Michael said, and he keeps telling us. Now we're going to go into the next dream. There was a regular living room with some stereo equipment in it. This guy was urging me to go in there. The problem was that the living room was also filled up with water that was loaded with sharks. Well, this is very interesting because now everybody's thinking about alligator Alcatraz, right? That the water is loaded with these man-eating alligators and you can't escape because if you try to swim through that, you're definitely not going to make it. It doesn't matter if you cover yourself in like anti-alligator soap or whatever they think you can do. No, the alligator's just going to come after you anyway. He knows what you are. Looks like Richard Whitney might have donated again, if that's what I see. Let's see here. Oh, no, that was an earlier one. Okay, so we got Pramila Kalaga. We had that one already, and then we have, let's see what else we got. Master Kenobi. Star Wars all along has been about preparing us to learn an ancient galactic war that now will hopefully come to an end on Earth. I absolutely agree. That's totally right. Smash the like button. Thank you, Richard Whitney, for your consistent support of David's work. Perhaps he can use this for a multi-stream platform and grow the family he's reaching with truth. All right, so yes, we're definitely capped at 4,000. It's not going to go above that. That's okay. You know, I'm going to have other income because you guys are going to come to my event. We'll see you there. So not a big deal. He basically said, as long as I was willing to go into the water, the sharks wouldn't hurt me. Well, this is really symbolic of our divine protection. If you avoid the pain, if you avoid the fear, if you live your life in this protective, fearful response, then lo and behold, you're going to have all these problems and things are not going to go your way. But if you are not afraid to go in and swim with the sharks, then you will be divinely protected. That's what this dream is talking about. I wouldn't go in the water for a long time, but when I finally did get up the courage, the sharks were gone. It was just now a regular room. There was a lot of plot content, energy, motion, someone else who faced the same question as I was. And at that point is when I started to wake up. So again, this is a really beautiful metaphor because it means that if you face your fears, if you act out of integrity, you will be kept alive, you will be kept preserved. You might even end up with people sending you an amazing shirt like this. I mean, hallelujah. Purple satin silk amazement. So again, the sharks go away once you face your fear. If you don't face your fear, they stay, but if you face your fear, they just disappear. It's a beautiful, beautiful dream metaphor. So again, the idea is that this transition is not going to be as bad as many of us fear it will be. I tried to move my hands and grab my tape recorder, but the hands were still in my lap. Even though I thought I moved my hands, I really hadn't. Then I realized I was still in my dream. Let's go out of body. So I got the vibrations that they talk about in the books. I heard this loud vibrating buzzing in the back of my head. And that was interesting, since I haven't usually gotten that, even though it was written about in the books. This time I certainly did. It was quite interesting and remarkable. This is an out-of-body I was having in a lucid dream, basically. The buzzing got really, really loud, and then I tried to pull out of my body a couple times in the dream. I would be able to get my arm free, but I couldn't get out. I was having a struggle. I realized that once the vibrations were there, I had to think myself into a new location, and then I would appear there. That's what you have to do when you're having an out-of-body experience. Instead of trying to think my way into a room, I just started to let my mind go, and then I ended up going through a house with several different permutations, several different rooms. There was one point when I remember hearing a disco tune. My vision was never very sharp. Things stayed blurry the whole time. This is stuff that will happen if you have a lucid dream. It's very common. Instead of worrying about that, stopping walking, or trying to stare at anything, I basically just kept on going the whole time and tried to navigate through the house. I went into one room and I was able to see myself in the mirror, and this was amazing because I looked exactly the same as I did in pictures when I was young and overweight. This was before I grew up my hair, circa 9th grade. My teeth looked the same as they did before I got tooth restructuring done. I had eye teeth next to my big teeth. They looked like little fangs. So this was very interesting that I'm seeing myself as I was when I was at my most dysfunctional and overweight. All of that was still there. It was amazing to be on the conscious level and see myself look like that so consistently. I mean, yeah, I've come an amazingly long way. As I moved my head and changed facial expressions, my mirror image did exactly the same thing, which was amazing. I went into another room and I could see how much I had changed and see my face as it looks today. So this is symbolic of all of us and how we are growing up. And then there's this woman who appears in the lucid dream, and we get romantically involved. She's not even really a woman. She's some kind of shapeshifter. It seems pretty negative. And so this is probably an alien type of thing, like a parallel life memory about being abducted and having to have, that type of thing happen to you. So there you go. That was the last big dream. And then we head into the main course here. Somebody had something over here on the comments. Texas flooding impacted Mystic Camp, but YMCA Arrowhead remains the primary focus, says Mr. Daily Wealth. Tom Roberts donated $111 Australian. Good day again, young bloke. Can't say I gotta go to work. It recently hit me how much crap you go through doing what you do. You're darn right, dude. I had to give you a huge thank you for being a boots-on-the-ground frontline warrior in the battle for our souls. Thank you again. Thank you, Tom. You've just made this month a lot happier. We really do need these donations. I don't know when we're going to actually get our money, but I very much appreciate your donation. So thank you, Tom. And thank you, Mr. Daily Wealth. All right. And again, the hit counter will not go above 4,000. It keeps dropping. It's at 3,600 right now. This is very anomalous behavior. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so very amazing the next day. Start time was approximately 4 o'clock a.m. There were all of these whales inside a house. Each whale was being held in a huge container, and the whales were very concerned. This was a totally incredibly epic dream because the whales were not really whales at all. They were utterly massive in size. I'm talking extremely, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet long, maybe even miles long. Supposedly, each whale contained huge numbers of a surviving human population. So this is like the idea of Noah's Ark, the end of the world, and the whales are alive. These motherships that these extraterrestrial Christian beings build, the motherships are actually made of living material in some cases. They have similar DNA in them to the beings themselves. This is a really, really interesting dream, similar to Star Trek IV, the huge whales. And I love it. I mean, this is actually a really great dream because this is the big rescue plan. And again, that's the timeline that we would have been on if we didn't have all the cool things going on that we know are happening now. If we didn't have the positive timeline. if we didn't have humanity being saved by Archangel Michael, making sure that the Alliance did its thing, that the plan takes place, negative is arrested, we learn the truth, and we get a non-catastrophic ascension. If we didn't, we would have to be rescued in massive numbers. That's what this dream is talking about. People being stored in whales, very much like Jonah and the belly of the whale metaphor, being stuck inside the belly of the whale. That metaphor means the darkness, the initiation, the fear, the terror, before everything works out on the hero's journey. So it's a very interesting, complex symbolism. Huge whales storing in huge numbers of people inside of them. I believe this is prophetic of living motherships to transport humanity. As I said, in the event of a negative timeline, this is what would have happened. And this is similar to the theme of the movie Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. It's actually a cigar-shaped mothership that comes to Earth and is talking to the whales, and the whales are talking back. And so, very, very interesting, huh? The people had somehow been compressed or placed inside these whales. Each one was of tremendous size. And an initial whale expedition to rescue the population of the planet had been sent out. And as this was happening, there was a tidal wave in the water that was a 9-degree angle to the ocean itself. So this is like the end of the world. All the boats on the ocean got swept under there. This was a horrible extinction-level disaster. So as this extinction-level 9-degree, tidal wave, massive tidal wave sweeping over the continents, wiping people out, the whales were there to rescue people in that end-of-the-world scenario. Now, if we were on negative timeline, something like this would have happened. If the positive beings hadn't stopped the Iran-Israel war, it could have escalated into nuclear war. It could have been something like this. So this is, again, very interesting dream and how it's commenting on the trouble that we've had and where it's all going. B. Johnny says, I just dialed in. I'm so happy to see you, David. We share the Archangel Michael connection. You make my Sundays better. Love to you. And we're now, again, pushing back up towards 4,000. Michael Salla interviewed, JP went into a living space arc. We definitely need an Angry Daddy break. DW, you got to have him show up in the dream, says Wolfie. But we have some funny stuff. I have a little bit of a funny thing for you in the video that's coming up when we go on our break. We're almost there. I can't even trust this hit counter. Now it's down to 3299. It just goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. It's crazy. I don't think it's even real, honestly. I thought this rescue operation involving whales was going well on a population level. I didn't realize at first a tidal wave had already wiped out the first rung of people on the planet. So not everybody was saved by these whales. The whales were in a gigantic square room. They were each in their own holding containers. The whales were just trying to keep everybody held long enough to protect them and move them somewhere else that was new. So again, this was my cosmic Noah's Ark. This was my main theory. This dream actually helped shape that theory for me. The idea that ETs want to rescue us. Now it's up to 3838 again. It just goes up and down like a yo-yo. Anyway, I probably won't even need the money by the time it's going to come in because it'll be like 2 months from now. So hopefully we'll be funded by then. I have some big trips coming up. It's all going to be good. But yeah, we'll get the conference going. That way I don't have to worry about not making enough money. And so I want to thank you in advance for signing up. And be ready for that. Hopefully we can get that announced pretty soon. So, this is very interesting. The whales were holding people, but they didn't get the first wave. The tidal wave killed the first rung of people. And I just thought again about how positive ETs compartmentalize us with the contacts and abductions they are doing. I wonder if it is possible that this dream is saying that we could end up using nukes. Well, again, that's what everybody was just afraid of in this war. If so, the positive ETs would still repopulate our planet anyway. That's what I thought would happen, something like that. So this is again prophetic of our recent nuclear scare of the 12-day war. The scene I witnessed in the ocean was incredible. Then I saw another predatory disaster. As this tsunami tidal wave happens, these green-skinned people show up, almost like science fiction in that regard. I'm not sure where they came from or how they figured in. There are normal-looking humans with green skin that live in Alpha Centauri, according to Henry Deacon, one of the top insiders, and it may also represent, obviously, the Draco reptilians. So in short, as the planet is going through this end times and turning into Mad Max, they are invaded by green-skinned reptilians. So this is again showing us we could have had a negative alien invasion timeline. Thank God we didn't. Then I met up with this sarcastic girl that I knew in college. She was very sassy, heavyset girl. Her name was Chris. She was in Nana and Papa's house. The whole dream changes, right? We go from like the whole world is ending and green-skinned aliens are invading and whales are saving people as tsunamis are sweeping over the ocean. And then all of a sudden, I'm just in my grandparents' house talking to this very funny girl I knew in college. Dreams are strange, aren't they? So Janet Lebowski says, great show as always. Thank you, David, for putting these videos out every week for us. Yeah, well, we're about to get into it because the next part of this is very amazing. So here we go. Let's get right into the amazing part. The green-skinned people ended up becoming these Latino guys who had pulled into her driveway and had very petty concerns. Well, this is talking about the issue of people being here who might not have been invited, if you know what I mean. And remember, they were just compared with alligators from the ICE thing we saw last week. And alligator Alcatraz is another. Alligators have green skin. Now here's these guys. They were worried that somebody was going to steal from them. Everyone else was worried that they were already trying to steal from us. So the alien invasion turns into a metaphor of the alien invasion we're actually dealing with, the DS-inspired crisis we're now going through. How funny, huh? Now it turned into a war that was much like a wrestling match. These green-skinned people were attacking us, and my female friend was now fighting them off with a hoe, which is like a long stick with a blade on the end. So she's trying to stab them, literally, because they're basically these green-skinned aliens that are attacking us all of a sudden. Other farm tools were being used to fight as well. She was fighting for every single one of us. And there was one point when I thought I had the enemy, and then I realized it was her, and I certainly didn't want to hurt her. So this is, again, remember the wrestling match. This is prophetic of Wrestlemania, the idea of the final stage of the arrests and, you know, raids and people being arrested, all that kind of stuff. It's very interesting. I just thought again about how positive ETs compartmentalized us with contacts and abductions that they are doing. I wonder if it is possible this dream is saying we could end up using nukes. If so, the positive ETs would repopulate the planet anyway. And as soon as I said that, the dream ended and we go into the reading. So this is now, you've been waiting for it. I'm going to give you a little of this before I go on my break. Ever wonder about the banking crisis, Michael says. The top 3 most valuable computer gurus in the world still don't realize how exactly they will be affected by this. So who would those gurus be? I would say Gates, Bezos, and Brin. Probably be, I mean, you know, take your pick. But these would represent swamp creatures. And, you know, there's going to be a crisis. They're already in a crisis. They don't realize how this is going to affect them. We can expect the mass arrests will include many individuals, including the top 3 valuable computer gurus in the world. Most would seem to be wanting a quick and easy solution when the entire matter is actually flown away from and not professionally dealt with. Well, the DS is not dealing professionally with the reality of the alliance. Top executives are not going to be able to fly away from these arrests in private jets. They will not have a quick and easy solution. So most of these guys, the top 3 computer gurus, they will not be able to fly away and deal with this. It's not being dealt with professionally. So they just want to run, but they're not going to be allowed to run. So right away, Michael is talking about the arrest. It's very, very cool. And then check this out. This is incredible. And this was before Bush won in 2000, by the way. That's why originally I had it under, I didn't capitalize the word Bush, but I realized, no, this is actually talking about that Bush was going to steal the 2000 election, that they have their own troops. They're a military, it's a military cult, basically, that's not being acknowledged to the public. And this cult gets some very big hits in on humanity. So we have sought, Michael says, to undermine the Bush troops and their influence on the global political picture, but this has failed us. Unfortunately, the prophecies such as the Virgin Mary of Guadalupe are again in place. Well, I said here on the 4th, I think Michael wanted to say Garabandal, but I didn't have that word in my mind. We had a major feature on the Garabandal prophecy last year. This was from 61 to 65. The Virgin Mary said that there's going to be a first wave of ascension that gets you into a cosmic consciousness, and they predicted it for the year 2025. So, but wait a minute. Guadalupe, the prophecies of Guadalupe are in place, caused by the Bush troops and their influence on the global political picture. We have failed? Well, yes, because the Texas flash flood, again, Virgin Mary of Guadalupe, unfortunately these prophecies are in place. The Texas flash flood was from the Guadalupe River. I guess I need an O in there, in Guadalupe. So let's check that out. This is off of ZH. Search and rescue operations continued into the early hours of Sunday morning as officials in Central Texas confirmed the death toll now exceeded 50. The urgent search remains, focused on 27 missing children from Camp Mystic, a Christian all-girls summer camp in Kerr County, after flash floods from the Guadalupe River tore through the area however many days ago. So Guadalupe River, wow. We have sought to undermine the Bush troops and their influence on the global political picture. This has failed us. Unfortunately, prophecies such as Virgin Mary of Guadalupe are again in place. So dang, this is like, how did they know to do this on a Sunday, right when we're about to have a show, and talk about the Guadalupe River and actually name it? And this was a year before the so-called Bush troops stole the election, as I said. The first wave is ultimately going to be the defeat of the DS. Michael says, the other night I had a dream about you. It said that the strictest Christians have become the most die-hard opponents to Christianity in its fundamentalist forms, instead embracing the true reality of the oneness of the universe and the sanctimonious nature of the one creator. Well, sanctimonious is not really a good word. It actually refers to fundamentalism. So here it is right here. A hypocritical show of religious devotion, piety, or righteousness. That's really talking about the DS, and it's talking about fundamentalism in general. That they think they're so religious and righteous, but they're really not. So again, what does he say? The strictest Christians oppose fundamentalist Christianity and embrace the true reality of the oneness of the universe, not this sanctimonious approach. So again, that's really how I feel. Michael is telling me right here, it's okay, David, that you're not playing along with typical fundamentalist ideologies. I have a very, very different view of this than everybody else does, you know? It turned into a war and it became like a wrestling match. There's Wrestlemania again, and I didn't realize it was going to be in the time loop when I made that term up. I used it, I didn't make it up, but used it in my show. My female friend Chris was again fighting off these green-skinned aliens with a hoe. Other farm tools were being used to fight as well. She was fighting for every single one of us. There was one point when I thought I had the enemy, and then I realized it was her, and I didn't want to drive the hoe up into her neck. Now, I read this earlier, but this is where it actually appeared in the transcript, and now you're going to hear what Michael says. So again, the prophecy of Wrestlemania. He says, place a few dozen more roses on the graves of those who have gone beyond. So you see, they're mourning the losses of people in these events, these deadly events. For you see that all is one, and this senseless killing and violence must not go on. So here, Michael is saying that they are going to bring a complete stop to wars and violence on earth. It needs to be established that there is a solid fact behind why there will never be a one-world hegemony of these financial powers. And that is because their essential nature is that of Orion, or the negative entities who have sought to enslave the planet as such. What did we just have? We had a reptilian invasion, the green-skinned aliens coming in. Everybody was rescued in these whales. Tsunamis are appearing on Earth. It's extinction level event type of stuff. So we're gonna pause right here for now, and this is a great time for me to take my break, which I do definitely need. So let me find you the latest set of videos, because one of the things that we're going to get into here is, since the dream was about reptilians anyway, oh shoot, hold on. So that's right. Okay. So in this break video that I created for you guys today, In this video that I gave to you guys today, we're talking about the scout ships, the beams of light, all that kind of stuff. In my dream, there's a reptilian invasion, green skin. And then, so as I'm filming this, I joked around about the reptilians a little bit, which is funny because I'd already intended to do this video and have you see this one this week, and then the green-skinned people actually showed up. So we also had, just last night, 2 nights ago, I had bears show up right in front of my house twice. First, it was a black bear, then it was 2 brown bears, one of which had blonde on his back. I think it's the same bear we saw before. So I did a mashup and I put all this stuff together, but I do need to go take a break. Show the chipmunks. We have another dream. Wasn't that a movie, not a dream, says Brian Grisham. All right, so if you guys want to hang out here, I'm going to have a funny little routine that I do about the reptilian scout ship because there's these shards of light coming out of the sky, and I filmed it with my camera. And then you're going to see these bears, and if it may replay for me to have enough time. I got to go out and feed the chipmunk that's crawling on the wall. But anyway, this is not a commercial. It's just fun. So let's dig right into it. I'm going to mute my microphone, and I'll be back with you guys in just a bit. Here we go. All right, and the microphone is ready, so here we go. Without further ado, I bring you the reptilian scout ship, beams of light, and bears. And action! I am in total amazement. Let's hope it's still there. I had to run and get the camera. Oh, crap. Oh, no, there it is. Holy crap. Look at that, huh? You guys seeing this? It's like a spotlight coming out of the clouds. This is not... Oh, wow, yeah, they're coming down there, too. Dude, this is amazing. It's like the moment of alien contact has arrived. The spotlight is coming down from the ship, and it's looking for who it needs to beam up into the bowels of this chop shop demonic madness where you're filleted and contrived into some sort of human hot dog, shredded cheese and meat. And you just give up everything, but no, you can't see it over here. I can't go far enough on the porch to see it from over there, but the spotlight of the draconian scout ship looking for its next meal. Well, it's almost gone. It's starting to drift over that way now. I'm so glad I caught this when it happened on video. I probably need to pee right now, so we'll do at least 3.5 minutes. But wow, wasn't that something? Little bit of a Eugene Levy. Well, that wasn't really Eugene Levy. That was more like an Uncle Jack mixed with M. Night Shyamalan. Kind of cram those two together, and now you got a Draco ship visible because of the spotlight that came out of the clouds. It was very freakish, wasn't it? And here's the water on the floor of the porch. We had a really good rain. And then this amazing beam just came out of the clouds. So I wasn't like feeling funny or anything, wanting to do that kind of a video, but oh, there's another one coming out. Look at that. You see it? Yep. And it's moving along the mountain. What a gift, huh? And we got to enjoy that together. The beam is still doing its thing. Maybe I'll zoom in on it. You can see a little better like I'm seeing it with the telescopic powers of human eyesight and the way the brain works to interface with the images that you see. It's almost gone now. There, we got another dose. Now you can see the hole in the cloud where it came from is closing up right there. We're probably not going to get another beam. It looks fantastic. That's all I can say. And this is going to wash all the pollen away, so the trees are popping everything. All this powder comes out of them. Anyway, we don't need to make it any longer than this. 4 minutes. Thanks for watching. Hey, you big bear. There he goes running. You see him? Don't you come around here unless you want to talk. Trying to eat my corn and stuff? Is that what this is about? I couldn't believe it. He was right in front of the window, you guys. Daddy's bear. Not a particularly threatening looking bear, but, ooh, you know, got to defend the homeland, man. Got to be ready for the creatures to be fended off in their terrible entreaties of doom and chaos. Sharp fangs, teeth, and claws. I don't know. I've already built the whole show. Feel good. We had to get our friend the bear. I guess I should come up with him. Come up with a name for him or something. Anyway, all right. Woo, that was a little scary. Here we go. Talk to you guys later. Guys, we got trouble. Got bears going around. They're back again. I think these are the most dangerous animals. What are you doing? What are you doing, you silly boy? You run like a big goof. You run like a big goofball. You just lumber. Yeah, well, you looking at me? You know I'm here. You can smell my pee. Come on, buddy. You want to come around and eat all of Daddy's stuff. Still there? I had to run and
all right, you guys. We'll just look at the beam of light again really briefly, and then...
Crap.
Oh,
there it
man.
is. Holy crap. You guys seeing this?
So yes, it's just a sunbeam,
Like spotlight coming out of the clouds.
but it's very interestingly timed with
This
what...
is not... Oh, wow, yeah, they're coming down there, too. Dude, this is amazing.
So this was right in the middle of when I was building this slideshow, you guys. Right as I'm building the slideshow, I walked out, and here's this beam coming out of the sky. It was really wild and interesting and intense. So I wanted to share that with you guys. But let's go back to our slide. Because again, the dream, it was all very interesting because I did that reptilian routine before I knew that this dream was coming in. The dream showed up after I did the reptilian routine. I'm like, okay, obviously I'm supposed to do that routine. Judy Booth donated $20, and she says, a little to help feed the chipmunks, squirrels, and blue jays are breaking me with their demands for peanuts here. Don't I know the feeling? So smash the like button just because of the bear. Nino did a video short under the Guadalupe Bridge just as you were talking about it. That is wild, says Diane Casey. Great. And Mariah Bezanson just donated. Have you noticed in the Harry Potter house, Slytherin has a boy named Draco and his dad Lucius, like the Draconian, i.e. the Lush, and the house Gryffindor doesn't have a griffin but a lion as its logo, like positive extraterrestrial felines. Max Levin says you have some kind of orb in the sky. I love chipmunks, says conspiratary, and I hate it when my cat catches them. Did you all see Freddie Mercury hovering in the sky? He was the clear blue patch, says DexCX. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's a broadsword, not a bastard sword. Okay, got it. We got a broadsword. Anyway, let's get right back into the main focus here. Michael says it needs to be established that there will never be a one-world hegemony of these financial powers. And that is because their essential nature is that of Orion or the negative entities who have sought to enslave the planet. They just showed us a green-skinned alien invasion. And thus the deeper message concerning this issue stems back to the realization of the fundamental lack in the Adriatic Sea of the necessary warships, maybe half, of the United States and the other parties involved to actually complete the conflict and the conflagration in the sense that others, the DS, would have it. Well, this is crazy. Fundamental lack in the Adriatic Sea of the necessary warships to complete the conflict. That's exactly what's going on right now, where there's no more weapons to be sent over to this UK country. And our troops and if we were going to help them in some way, the closest sea would be the Black Sea, but that's pretty much controlled by Russia, so we're not going to be in there. So we would actually have American ships in the Adriatic Sea. And so right now, the whole question is we don't have enough weapons to send them anymore. I showed you that at the beginning. And then they're saying in the time loop from 99 that there's not enough warships to complete the conflict. And again, a conflagration is a massive fire. And so there's not enough warships to actually finish that war in the sense that others would have it. That's a very, very fascinating prophecy of the Ukraine-Russia war because there's a lack of weapons necessary. So just so you know what I'm talking about, here's the Adriatic Sea. Now, that's right next to Italy, and then over to the right there is the Black Sea, which again is mostly controlled by Russia. So here's a more detailed map where you can actually see the Adriatic next to Italy, and then right there you have up to the right is Ukraine. So it's very, very interesting that, because we would have warships there to support them. We don't have enough. That's a very accurate prophecy. So the lack in the Adriatic Sea of necessary warships of the United States of America to actually complete the conflict and the conflagration. So again, that's why we called the show Dazzling Time Loops, because it also is a fact that Russia rained down on Kiev in one of the war's most devastating attacks yet, and that just happened on Friday. That's a conflagration. That's a massive fire. That's exactly what Michael is talking about in the reading. So very, very fascinating. So he says, don't nickel and dime me to death with statistics about the bleeding heart and how many people have been saved by this action. The prognostication for the number of refugees was known before the campaign was ever started, and thus this inevitable consequence was indeed part of the plan. So there's Michael again mentioning the plan. And again, the point is, he doesn't like the fact that this war ever happened. And millions of people had to flee the Ukraine. The number of refugees were known before it started. But it was inevitable, and it had to be done because of the plan, which we're going to learn about later. And tens of millions of people had to flee that country. So very interesting. Think on these things and recognize that a much larger agenda of globalism is playing itself out. However, you should also understand this. We do feel confident that with the appropriate training and forethought, you and your people could certainly attempt to create and conform to a one-world government. Indeed, it is vitally important for your survival as a human species to do so. That's very ironic, isn't it? And if you think about it, when planets worth of beings meet up with other planets worth of beings, maybe by that point they do have some type of generalized understanding on their planet. If it's peaceful, if it's a world peace, not such a bad thing, huh? So it's a very weird spin that Michael has played here by showing us that there could be a way in which this is good. But again, very accurately showing us that the larger agenda of globalism is playing out. It is unfortunate for us to see that instead of a universal declaration of peace, this one-world government is coming about strictly through the erratic means of warfare and of unseen alliances of superpowers in neighboring countries. Well, that's also very, very interesting because the alliance is apparently an alliance of secretly aligned superpowers. It may include China. It may include Russia. The whole thing may actually be one big weird kayfabe, where the wars that are taking place are against entrenched elements of this system, but that there's hidden alliances as well. We've talked about that many times. Michael is directly speaking about it in the time loop, dude. So that's pretty darn impressive, I got to say. When you see these things all stacking up, it's like, wow. Unseen alliances of superpowers, got it. How interesting. And then Michael quotes the 96th quatrain in Nostradamus' Century 2, which is very, very fascinating. This is really kind of like the high point of the whole show. And again, we're at the 2.5 hour mark right now. We've got 3,844 people watching. Annette Johnson just donated. Thank you very, very much. I almost expected Mr. Bean to show up on your porch with that beam. Mariah, we did the, okay, we got that one. So thank you guys. Anyway, here we go. Persia invades Macedonia does take on a whole new meaning, doesn't it? Well, wait a minute. Isn't Persia Iran? And didn't they just basically invade Israel with their missiles? Yeah. What, I mean, what the hell is Michael doing saying, I mean, my whole body is like chills. What the hell is Michael saying this for in April of 1999? It's just absolutely dazzling. Really, really interesting. Persia invades Macedonia takes on a whole new meaning, does it not? So that Persia equals Iran, and Macedonia is one of the smallest countries in the world, symbolic of our favorite small country. So this is a dazzling prophecy because Macedonia could mean Israel. Absolutely. And they did actually invade there with missiles, as do many of the other Nostradamus quatrains of the period. But look back again to the bullseye or the target. Remember, this was a missile exchange, so it involved a bunch of targets and bullseyes, and wonder wherein the target functions. So let's go look at that Persia thing. Here we go. And again, remember, Macedonia now would symbolize Israel. So this is Century 2, quatrain number 96. This is Nostradamus. And I think Michael probably did this too with Nostradamus the same way that he's doing with me. I think it's the same entity behind it. A burning torch will be seen in the sky at night. That's the missiles that were in this war. Near the end and the beginning of the Rhone. Well, that's the Rhone River. We'll show you that in a minute. Famine steel. The relief provided late. Persia turns to invade Macedonia. Well, this is just jaw-droppingly amazing. Persia did invade the small country with burning torches, but Israel's Golden Dome proved relief too late, causing famine and the breaking out of steel from these buildings. So, dude, this is like, how did Michael know? To quote Nostradamus, Persia invades Macedonia. I mean, are you guys seeing this? Like, what? Let's see what the comments are saying here. David loves a long chat. Nostradamus, my research from Beaver when they come to venerate Thor's Day. Why do you think people need money? Your adversary, the one always trying to keep you down, is not looking out for your best interest. That would be the case. So again, Persia invades Macedonia is such a specific Nostradamus prophecy that goes all the way back hundreds and hundreds of years, centuries. And we did see a burning torch in the sky at night. Everybody watched those videos. Persia turns to invade Macedonia. Iran invaded Israel with missiles, and relief was provided late. Fascinating. So fascinating. So again, here's Macedonia above Greece, and there's North Macedonia above Greece there. You can see it's right next to the Adriatic Sea. It's a very small country, and there on the bottom right is Israel. Israel is approximately the same size as North Macedonia. So wow. This is just one of the coolest things that's ever happened in these transcripts, you guys. So let's go back in there. And now we're going to start from 94. Now again, this is like a negative timeline. I think a lot of these things didn't end up happening. But it's interesting that the stuff that did happen is nestled in with a bunch of fear stuff that didn't happen. And Michael is saying that it takes on a whole new meaning. So here we go. Great Po, whatever that means, great evil will be received through Gauls. Those are people from France. And Macron is the one who's trying to negotiate the ceasefire right now. Vain terror to the maritime lion. Well, the lion, I think, represents 47 and represents America because we're the alpha lion country in the world, and we have lots of ships. Vain terror to the maritime lion. People will pass by the sea in infinite numbers without 250,000 escaping. So again, the maritime lion seems to represent him in the alliance. Macron is now trying to negotiate a ceasefire. And again, the idea of 94, that people die in huge numbers in the sea, 250,000 cannot escape, that was predicted in the dream of this same reading, which had the whales, and the whales couldn't rescue everybody. There were people lost in the first tidal wave before the whales could rescue them for this ascension process. So that's very, very interesting that there was a tsunami in the dream, and Michael is referring to Nostradamus quatrains. He quotes them. You just go 2 back, and the same thing is in the Nostradamus quatrains that we saw in Michael's reading. Now, Michael says that the earth changes are symbolic. So it's a symbolic pole shift. It's a symbolic tsunami. It doesn't mean there's really going to be one. But, you know, we needed to hear that as a planet. We needed to hear what kind of danger we could have been going into if we hadn't have saved ourselves. So Gauls, again, great evil will be received through Gauls, vain terror to the maritime lion. The Gauls inhabited France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and parts of Switzerland. They symbolized the DS, very obviously. The populous places will be uninhabitable. Great discord to obtain fields. Realms delivered to prudent and incapable ones. Then for the great brothers, dissension and death. And I'm just thinking now that the great brothers could represent Putin and Zelensky. That these populous places in Ukraine have become uninhabitable. Great discord has occurred. And prudent and capable ones have captured these realms. So isn't that interesting? And there's dissension and death between the great brothers. That absolutely, in context with Persia invades Macedonia, sounds like everything that we're seeing right now. They're talking about both wars at the same time in this prophecy. And Michael specifically wants us to read this. And now we're back up to the one we saw before, 96. A burning torch will be seen in the sky at night near the end and the beginning of the Rhone. Famine steal the relief provided late. Persia turns to invade Macedonia. Holy crap. So yes, we already saw that part. It definitely predicts the Iran-Israel war. The beginning of the Rhone River is in Switzerland, which happens to be the geographical headquarters of the DS. And then it goes right on down. You see Switzerland there, directly to the right of France. That's where the Rhone River starts. It's right above Italy, Switzerland, and then the Rhone River is right there, and it goes through France. So this is near the end and the beginning of the Rhone, was what the Nostradamus prophecy said. So that brings you right down into the Mediterranean, right near Italy, which is the head of the DS, just like Switzerland. And the Rhone River originates in the Swiss Alps. There you go. So now we know how to read this. A burning torch will be seen in the sky at night near the end and beginning of the Rhone River. So this is, again, really being run by the DS, and they live at the beginning of the Rhone River. Switzerland is one of their top hangouts. I mean, it's incredible. And we're still dealing with, okay, somebody doesn't want to believe that Macedonia refers to Israel, but in this case, I think it does. I get that the Macedonians and the Israelis are totally different. It's just a symbol. Sorry if it upsets you. There's some cranky people in the comments today, man, I'll tell you. Famine and steel, the relief is provided late. Persia turns to invade Macedonia. I mean, this is just so big. I just kind of have to like breathe it in. Like, wow. I mean, Michael specifically told us to look at this. Macedonia hasn't been invaded, but Israel was. So the timing, considering that Persia's the one who did it, I think it's very, very remarkable. And again, both countries are about the same size. And it starts at the beginning of the Rhone. So the DS is behind this. This is very frightening. Actually, if you were the Pope, I would say, given all these other prophecies, and then this is the very next one in the present time loop that we're in, Roman Pontiff, beware of approaching the city that two rivers flow through. Near there, your blood will come to spurt. You and yours, meaning like probably the entire DS, or at least some of them, when the rose will flourish. Dang, dude. So yeah, I think this is talking about the whole organization, actually, because it's all run by Rome. We know that. That's their spiritual headquarters. The rose symbolizes Rosicrucians and the DS. So the question is, will the current Pope and all these members end up having arrests or other types of things go down? Maybe so. I don't know. So again, Roman sounds like Rhone. And so the city that two rivers flow through, be aware, Pope, of approaching that city. What does this mean? It could represent Switzerland. It may also be Belgrade. In Serbia, they have two cities. There's another city there called Past that has the same thing. Other ones that have two rivers is Koblenz, Germany, Lyon, France, and Manaus, Brazil. And Lyon, France actually does have the Rhone River going through it as well. But here's Belgrade, and you can see the two major rivers, Danube, or the Danube, and the Sava converge in Belgrade. So we don't really know where it is yet, okay? So let's now go all the way back to the beginning. Persia invades Macedonia does take on a whole new meaning, does it not? And again, Persia is Iran. Macedonia is the small country, I believe. Sorry if you don't like that. As do many other Nostradamus quatrains of the period. Look back again to the bullseye or the target and wonder wherein the target functions. So the target in this case is the DS. That's what we just saw. So wonder wherein the target functions. What do you think that means? The target functions in the whole world. The target that starts at the beginning of the Rhone River, that has this proxy going in the small country, that they tried to bring us to World War III, they tried to ruin the world. They are the target. They are the subject of the arrest that the Alliance is doing. So again, this is a very, very interesting, like, Michael's never quoted Nostradamus and made it current like that before. I'm really dazzled by it. I don't know what else to say. It is unfortunate for us to see that instead of a universal declaration of peace, this one world government is coming about strictly through erratic means of warfare and unseen alliances of superpowers and neighboring countries. There you go. That's what the alliance really is. They even said the word alliance. Oops, we got some text that didn't make it. This is the way the media is trying to make us think. I don't really believe this, but they're now parroting the view of the media and how we're all being misled in the West here. The Great Bear wishes to rekindle itself, and the majority of Americans do not see this, nor do they care. The Russian alliance with China is still a fragile one, but it does exist, and at a time where China's own reputation in the United States is particularly impoverished. So that's the fear-mongering. This is Michael mirroring the fear-mongering that the DS is trying to tell us. And wouldn't you know, there's an alliance slide this very week that describes exactly the same thing. The Great Bear Russian alliance with China, here it is, from the 5th, basically the same day that I was building these slides, the NATO chief is projecting a China and Russia World War III. And it says right here, World War III could begin with simultaneous invasions by China and Russia. China would try to take Taiwan. Putin attacks NATO territory at the same time. According to Root, the strategy involves Russia tying up NATO in Europe as China advances on Taiwan. And dude, there it is. Look at the number of seconds. 35. Another iteration of post number 35, which is one of the greatest ones. One of the 34, 35 are the most important ones. So that happened again this week, which is very exciting. That means the arrests are coming. So again, here was the alliance telling you, expect that you're going to see, here's the alliance telling you that the DS is trying to set up a war between Russia and China. And Michael mentions the exact same fear-mongering campaign. The Great Bear wishes to rekindle itself and make it an alliance with China. So that, again, just shows the time. I'm not feeling very good this week. Going to court is horrible. But, like, you know what? I'm not going to take a break. I'm going to do the show. I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to show up for you. We're going to get this done, man, because this is very important. And they're giving us post 35. So who knows how fast this is all going to come to a head. Understand that as you sit in stupor and continue to buy in the stock market, so too do we see the inevitable consequences of descending chaos in the world order and market schemata. So again, their plans have now descended into chaos thanks to the work of the Alliance. They are sitting in stupor and they are going into chaos. A wise fool once said, to bring about everyone's demise is to bring about world peace, because no one will be able to do anything to stop it from happening. And there will be nobody left to... You'll have world peace because there will be nobody left. Well, if what was happening was nothing, that would be one thing. Instead, what is happening is that the embryonic sac of the new millennium is being ruptured by these bellicose actions and threatened to explode into a much larger scale in the very near future. There you go. Michael is actually giving us a time loop, and he's letting us know that this could get a lot worse before it gets better. We're not necessarily done just because they're calling it a 12-day war. Well, they got no other cards to play. They want World War III. They're probably going to try something else nasty. We have to be on our guard. Michael is essentially preparing us that this war could be threatened to explode into a much larger scale in the very near future. So we're not done yet. Don't assume that it's all just going to get boring. We could be right in the middle of another really crazy thing that makes all the other stuff that we're worrying about seem like nothing. And we're at 39.21. We're still not over 4,000, but we're right on the edge. That's good enough for me. I think it's not even real. We might have a land contraction for you of major or epic proportions in order to better illustrate the point. Understand the resources that are available. Whoa. So this could actually refer to some type of earthquake that maybe the DS is responsible for it in part, but that the angelic beings would have to allow that to happen to get us not to make war with each other. So this is a very serious threat from Michael, that if this thing turns into a huge war and it doesn't get stopped, which again, 47 did an amazing job already, and I think the Alliance is going to be on the next one. But if they don't stop it fast enough, we may have an epic land contraction. Now, that also doesn't necessarily mean what Michael says on the nose, because he always speaks in metaphor. So the land contraction may not be an earthquake. It may be something happening in Ukraine. It could be that they get very badly attacked. It could happen to the small country as well. That's something we would need to worry about. So this is very serious. And again, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this week is so that Michael can communicate, let us know that these things do need to be stopped, because otherwise we might end up with epic land contractions. Woo, man. The actions that are now occurring are in stark contrast to the laws of universal peace and meditations of light that exist in the higher realms. We want to commend all of your people who continue to meditate for world peace and attempt to construct positive changes in any way possible. There will be a light at the end of the tunnel, and there is still going to be an ascension. It is our purpose to try to ensure that those who react violently to the increasing energies do not bring this violence to the others. And yet a whole maelstrom of possibilities erupts before you in the present. I probably should have highlighted that one. Yeah, so this is not over, you guys. Michael is obviously time looped in, so stuff could still happen. Ground troops, increased fighting, etc., will not lead to world peace. It will just lead to massive bloodshed that you are only just beginning to grasp. So there's a very negative timeline ahead that we got to avoid here. It is through such mass violence and acts of brutality that those in the United States are able to feel that they have somehow supported the war machine in any way. And thus you see the actions of the young men at Columbine High School in Colorado, who did indeed very directly act out what was going on in the planetary scale. In a sense, this tragic and horrible event was karmically very well timed. There should be a very direct and obvious connection that could be made in the minds of the public between these senseless, end-based killers who were not very old in their years and who entered a school to do their biddings, and those in the Kosovo/Ukraine/Iran-Israel situation. It is indeed miraculous to us to see that there is not more compassion for the destruction of the people, which in this case was the Serbs, instead of the simple belief that the only ones who matter are the parties that were chosen by this government to be aided. Let's take a good look into the future now and recognize that the entire question of ascension remains to be answered in large part to the degree of the readiness of the planetary vibrations. So how ready are we? We have always stated this, but we will do so again. If the guns have orchestrated a planned sacrifice, this then involves the necessity of taking out the source of the guns, as there are greater and greater necessities for balance being created every moment. Wow. That's exactly what we just saw, because the airstrikes that 47 authorized on the 3 areas, bunker buster bombs of Iran, those were their weapons facilities for making nukes. And then Michael says it necessitates the taking out of the source of the guns. JP says the White Hats will win. Heaven to earth. Amen. So this is great. So taking out the source of the guns, if the guns have orchestrated a planned sacrifice, which would be of the planet. So again, Iran could have been used. They got rid of those. Other sources of them are being taken out. And greater necessities for balance, which means that's why these wars have to happen. So again, Michael is explaining, yes, what America did had to be done. We have to take out the sources of the guns. And isn't it weird that 47 just stopped giving new guns to this country? They just cut off all the weapons. So I'm like, okay, I can pretty much phone this one in with a remote control. I can do the whole show just off of what Michael said. And we're going to be fine. The reason why Michael is so accurate is to let us know that this has all been foreseen. We're all going to be okay. It apparently ended up in the Nostradamus material. Wow. That's just huge. Land shifts and ultimately positive Earth changes will help you to see this message. So that was his clue, because I think my conscious mind was interfering a little bit after that whale dream, looking at the tsunamis and everything. But these are positive changes. And so sometimes we need a land shift, but that we're not going to have the planet destroyed. Thus you see in David's dream the presence of the whales, symbolically representing humanity, encapsulated and ready to proceed through the Matrix. This was just 3 weeks after the Matrix came out, and away from the Holocaust that could potentially occur upon your planet. So this is, again, the cosmic Noah's Ark. You also see the fundamental complications occurring within the greater oceanic body as very large waves play themselves out. And the voice tone suddenly deepens in pitch. This is probably because Michael came in, maybe the female was speaking, Lucia. Understand that even as we say these things, what is most important is for each one of you to remain peaceful and still. Get that breath going, as this peace and stillness within you will allow greater light to radiate into the core of the planet and then into the greater body of humanity at large. So they know that all this stuff is happening, and we're again being told, just calm down, relax, and breathe. Do your part by becoming your own prophet and seeking to predict your own future, which is that of the glorious ascension. You will indeed arise into the heavens. And this is not conjecture or speculation, but rather a question of history. As to us, it is already a possibility that can be seen in a past, present, and future sense. Wow. Ascension already happened for them. They already got it. Judith donated. Thank you very much. And we just broke over 4,000. So who says it isn't possible? We got 4,001. One. But it's hovering right on that line. Anyway, maybe it's real. Maybe it's not. Who the hell knows? So this is a very encouraging message, because I know I get freaked out by what's going on. You get freaked out by what's going on. He's talking about the wars. He's talking about the negative timeline possibilities. Wars lead to Earth changes, all this kind of stuff. But they also say that the ascension has already happened. It's already a done deal that we're going to be okay. So that's a very, very good piece of news to have. You will indeed arise into the heavens. Instead of running from the shadows, shine the light on them, he says, and recognize how quickly they will be dissipated as a result. This is talking about the whole planet and the defeat of the negative. I love it. Continue to assume that time is your best ally. Recognize when you have not fully accepted the nonlinear nature of time therein. And if you did, then you'd understand they've already seen the future. Everything's going to be fine. The time is now for you to utilize these external lessons for your own internal growth. As the mystery of war saddens and distresses you, regardless of which side you may be saddened by, understand in the deeper sense all of these are merely players, enacting the dramas within self. And thus, in the deeper sense, the miserable folly of those young men in Columbine High School was timed, in their own subconscious sense, to correlate in such a way to bring a point to the American people. The point, namely, is this: to have compassion for those who are being killed. Remember, the killers were, the would-be killers in the dream in Darth Vader costumes were hugged, and everybody was telling them they loved them. Have compassion for those who are being killed, children in schools being shattered by senseless acts of violence and bombing. And this is obviously talking about the wars, and the kids at the summer camp would be another school that was just shattered by a senseless act of violence. Again, on a deeper subconscious level, these twisted and distorted young men recognized that through their choice to do this, which was inherently a violent and very unfortunate choice, there was a potential to make an analogy. This analogy could be seen in a similar light to Heaven's Gate when they were trying to use Nike sneakers and their overall contempt for the corporate world that was expressed in many different ways. So too did these boys operate off of the caveat that if the government can do it, then we can do it too. That is a fundamental aspect of the situation not yet seen in the collective mind of the public. Another issue on the table, sudden and spontaneous discovery of perfectly preserved Roman galleons, and remember, Rome is the head of the DS, buried beneath the sands of the ocean and time, and now brought back into the public awareness as though not a day had passed since they first sank. And yes, at the time that this came in, there had been Roman ships that had just been discovered. I think they were in the Mediterranean or something. It was a new discovery, and they were in pristine condition. And Michael was saying this was like a time loop, showing that we're still time looped in with Rome back then. We want you to understand the profound symbology of these ships showing up. As David has been studying the field of psychology, he can see many correlations have already been made between Roman history and American history. And this, again, is the 2,160-year cycle, which we've talked about. And so, again, Hitler shows up as Hannibal back in the earlier Age of the Zodiac before. They both look the same, except that Hannibal has a beard. He just has a little mustache. They both invade the same lands in the same years, 2,160 years apart. They both use similar strategies, where Hannibal used huge elephants and Hitler was using tanks. And they both did blitzkrieg. They both invaded really quickly. So these are and there's many, many of these fascinating connections between Rome and the World War II scenario that we could talk about. Hannibal and Hitler overlap perfectly, exactly one age of the zodiac apart. And it was the equivalent of World War II back in Rome when that happened before. So this is pretty amazing. And Michael is saying these cycles are still in effect. That's the symbolism of finding the Roman galleons. Events occurring upon similar timetables play themselves out in such a fashion as described in those works. And as I said here, both Kennedy and Lincoln's shootings occurred after they were reelected in the years of a Jupiter-Saturn planetary conjunction. That could be psychology. I think it is. I think it's the same soul. Lincoln came back as Kennedy. They don't look quite the same, but there's similarities there. That sheds a very personal light on this amazing propensity for history to repeat itself in such stunning ways. Psychology actually allows us to prognosticate when events will take place. So it is a fundamental fact that a historical connection has been established between the Roman regime and the United States, i.e. DS regime. So too is there a fact that the United States DS regime, this is not the administration, this is the swamp, the United States regime must collapse and fold. Whew, I can't wait. I mean, can we please get on with this? As did Rome, once thought to be the greatest superpower of the world. So this is talking about the DS's presence within America being arrested, tried, and convicted. Michael is being very unambiguous. It must collapse and fold, just like Rome collapsed. So it's a very similar analogy, what we're going to see. And that's really, really cool. So we got Tony Jorgensen donated $10, says thank you. Thank you, Tony, very much. Juan Hernandez donated $100. We got the red one there. That's awesome. Thank you, Juan, very much. Vacapalo says, we're playing our part, bringing God's kingdom to the earth. The whale is the animal made after the creation for Jonas, the prophet who ran away from his calling. I love it. Thank you. Judith donated, I think we got that one. And we also have Karen Holm, and she donated $50. Incredible prophecies once again. Thank you, David. Sustenance says, one of my dreams yesterday said to stay in the feeling of love, let go of fear, even under direct threat of violence. This will prevent the trigger from ever being pulled. Yeah, we had dreams in this time loop that really said the same thing. And Karen, you're right. I mean, these prophecies are incredible. So thank you guys for being here. We're now down to 3427. It goes up and down. There it is, 3967. So there's like a 500-person fluctuation that's happening pretty consistently here. Okay, whatever. When the Roman civilization did collapse, it was cause for great alarm. Similarly, the greed and desire for limitless profits is also now fueling the stock market's increases. As this is seen to fall away, there will be many of those who placed great faith in the stock market who will suddenly have all of their earnings vaporized and be left with stock that is completely devalued. So my read on this, again, don't panic, don't freak out, but my read on this is that we are going to see DS institutions, once these arrests happen, there will be collapses. There will be entire institutions that just go bankrupt, entire companies that go bankrupt, and yes, if you were holding stock in those companies, that stock will become devalued completely. So this is what they mean by the collapse of Rome. The cyclical equivalent of the collapse of Rome is going to be happening here with the arrest of the DS, and some of their companies are going to just get totally wiped out. And I don't want to speculate on them. Mahmoud Abadi just donated. Thank you very much. But you can probably think of some of the industries and businesses that I'm thinking. You know, I'm not going to even go into it, but there's definitely going to be some upheaval when they do the final phase of this, and they're comparing it directly now to the collapse of Rome, which is quite amazing. Understand that this event, and I said I just heard strange creaks in the house, probably from the wind, but they were right next to the door. I was very freaked out. It sounded like there was a being in the room. And then they said an entity has joined us in order to help further clarify the points that we wish to make. Let us deepen your trance state now, at which point I actually fell asleep and the reading ended. So I do think that my conscious mind was tampering with the words. I was fearing pole shift tsunamis. I was fearing financial collapse. And so with that dream with the whales, I think my mind was starting to throw some things in. And so they scared me with the sound of an entity in the room to get me to deepen my trance state so I'd fall asleep and stop interfering with the reading. This is one of the only times that happened. But again, they still manipulated it so that, yes, there is a financial collapse. It's just coming out of the swamp. The United States regime, the Roman Empire cyclical equivalent in our current time. Very, very interesting. So again, I do not believe we're headed into a huge financial collapse. So don't think that's what it is. That might have been why my mind got kicked out there. So this is where we get our transcription gap, as I just said, between these two tapes right here. For whatever reason, we go from, well, I know why, because I was moving, the 22nd to the 30th. It was horrible to get kicked out so quickly. I'd only been there a few months. I had to move into this really bad situation, as you know, this filthy house with jet noise and alcoholics living next door that scream every night. And I didn't even move in there until later. So this is where the gap begins. It's right at this moment that all of a sudden we have nothing until the 30th. I was very stressed out with moving and finishing my book. Most of what we get after the 30th starts out as just dreams. There's a little bit of readings here and there, not very many. We're going to have to deal with all this next week. And I again missed all of my dictation on the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th, so I missed 3 more days in the middle. And then I also did a conference in Tennessee. My second ever conference in front of an audience for money was in Tennessee, Knoxville, on May 7th through the 9th. And I did that with my soon-to-be new girlfriend, Sabrina. Immediately after I got back from the conference, I started to move into my new apartment the very next day, Monday the 10th, and my first day in the new place was Tuesday the 11th. Michael doesn't really come back online until the 14th. So, but on that day, we have a dream of another epic missile exchange. Very interesting. At the end here, we had an oceanfront area. Rockets were coming out of the sky. One of them hit me on the foot and then another. They didn't go off, whereas the others did. They were just little rockets, so it wasn't anything really that bad. However, it did hurt my foot. And oh my God, I was just recovering from this yet another sprain, foot injury, as I was unsealing this. Rockets were coming out of the sky. There it is, and they didn't cause that much damage. We had Iran attack a U.S. base in Qatar. All those missiles got interrupted. Many of the missiles got intercepted on both sides, so it wasn't really that bad. And then my injured foot is in the time loop. So once again, I mean, these prophecies are just dazzling. Now, next week, we're going to cover the whole period of April 30th to May 11th. But again, I did a conference in the middle. I hardly had anything come through during the conference. I was very distracted with moving. So we're just going to have to figure out next week. I want to get right to the 14th so you can hear from Michael again, because that's what really matters. And yes, I lost my reception for 3 weeks because of stress. Right after the rockets came, there again, tsunami, same theme Michael had before about wars and earth changes. So if the war goes too far, Michael might allow an earth change to happen. I don't think it's ever going to go there, but earth changes can be caused by mass death. I mean, that's the consciousness connection. So right after this missile exchange, there were really big ocean waves. I was extremely worried they were going to slam me up against the wall. I tried to complain to someone about what had happened, but they really didn't seem to care. And that was actually very lame. You would expect at least a little bit of consideration. So tsunamis and rockets. These were military-type guys I was talking to. The bomb guy had already started to pick up the missiles, so you couldn't figure out who sent them. That's like the DS. They're already trying to cover this up and hide the truth. And then, Michael's first words in the reading are, the first word is Jerusalem. Right, because that's where the missiles were hitting. And then artichoke is a code name from the DS. We'll get into that. So Jerusalem, artichoke, Ontario, apples. Your mother wants these words to materialize too, to analyze the free literature. You have purchased the rights to your common sense. The liberals do want this plan now. Holy crap. So we now have common sense because nobody wants war. Even the liberals want the plan of the alliance to be fulfilled. This is a dazzling prophecy of the arrests and the Israel-Iran war. So just soak that in for a minute. They were just talking about a missile exchange, and then the first word that he says is Jerusalem. We have purchased the rights to your common sense. Even the liberals want the plan now. This is just so exciting. It makes all the stress that I feel melt away. It really does. And I think we're going to get this done in 4 hours. We're right about the 3-hour mark right now. So wait a minute. Jerusalem artichoke. I mean, there are Jerusalem artichokes, but does Michael have a deeper meaning? You bet he does. Ah, the name artichoke is most notably associated with a program known as the Project, or also called the Operation, a secret project initiated in the early 1950s focused on researching and developing techniques for interrogation and behavior manipulation, often involving hypnosis, drugs, and psychological methods. This was a precursor to what became MK Ultra, which is much more widely known. The name artichoke for the project is rumored to have been inspired by a New York City criminal, Ciro Terranova, known as the Artichoke King. The project's earlier name before artichoke was Bluebird, and it was renamed artichoke in August of 1951. So let's hit that again. Jerusalem artichoke. Okay. Who might be doing the artichoke type of mind control on the world? Okay. Well, we got a word before then, so that might be a big clue about who's doing the artichoke. And then we have Ontario, that's Canada. Canada's done some really strange things. Apples, again, the blue apples is a code name for psychedelic drugs that they would use in the DS. So Jerusalem artichoke, wow, it's the mind control of this. And he said Persia invades Macedonia. That takes on a whole new meaning. I mean, I'm just blown away, you guys. Like, I had to do this show because this stuff was so good. Your mother wants these words to materialize too, to analyze the free literature. You have purchased the rights to your common sense. The liberals do want this plan now. They are breaking through the artichoke mind control from said city that comes before that word. And all others involved in the swamp. It's not just that, it's many other things too. So this is a dazzling prophecy of the arrest and the Israel-Iran war. So we're going to cover that period of the 30th through the 14th in our next show. In the meantime, let's reread the highlight of the March 17th time loop. Don't worry. Have faith in the Ascension and in the timelines as given. This is sure to be an event of biblical proportions. Mark my words on that one. That is all for now. Peace be with you in the light of everlasting love. So once again, the Michael prophecies are coming true now. The full Michael prophecies download is still available. We have 7 entire 500-page books of this stuff. I highly recommend you read it. It will give you a spiritual awakening that's very intense. And we did 35 hours of conference quality multi-camera shoot videos. It's both myself and Chris Beskar, who I'm also going to be bringing out to you in this coming event. We had a donation come in. Connor Hargraves, bring in all the organic source light you can hold within your heart. This will have a ripple effect for those around you for the highest good of all. I totally believe. Bang Bang, ask Archangel Michael what David should share. He's got the sizzle and he's serving it up hot. Woo! Thank you, guys. I mean, support David. He could use our love and support, and his work is beautiful. I agree. This has been the most difficult, this complex polycrisis and being bankrupt for 4 years, and all this stuff has been incredibly difficult. So I really do hope that my life changes soon, but again, I don't actually need to wait for our company to get a deal. I just need to book an event somewhere and get you guys to show up. And I hope you will. That way we'll have a success. And then I finally at least solve one of the problems, which is this massive, massive bankruptcy that I'm always dealing with. I would love it. Another way you can do that is to order this course. You will not be disappointed. Believe me, it's information packed. So we have 35 hours of video, all 7 books and all 35 hours is just $144, which is the lowest I'm ever going to make it. You can see how the dots connect to reveal the Ascension. I mean, each book, by the way, has like a 100-page introduction that has all kinds of great scientific stuff in it about demons and about, all different subjects that are really fascinating. I do feel absolutely this is my masterpiece. So you can get the whole thing at thedisclosure.com. Over 35 hours of video, 7 books by just typing in the code concrescence. That's https thedisclosure.com. Without further ado, we're moving right along here. We're going to keep it shorter. As I said, I'm sticking to my promise. The latest Alliance posts. So, again, I mean, like, Michael did such a good job this week. I said, wow, all I need to do is just read this stuff. But the Alliance is also letting us know that, yes, there could be another war outbreak. Michael is very much warning us that this thing might not be over. It could definitely start happening again, or something big could happen in Ukraine this week, and that could make everybody freaked out. So I kind of expect that there's going to be some type of mass freak out coming up that we haven't seen yet. I kind of expect we're all going to get scared again, because I'm just reading the time loop. I mean, you go back and watch this and tell me what you think these prophecies are saying, but Persia invades Macedonia. That was amazing, dude. I mean, like, I've never had Michael actually quote exact words out of Nostradamus. And what's so funny is if you type it into the search engine, Persia invades Macedonia, it says that Nostradamus didn't predict, the AI says Nostradamus did not predict that Persia would invade Macedonia. Okay, well, it actually says Persia invades Macedonia, so what do you mean exactly? I didn't even take a picture of that. It was so silly, but I just went back to the centuries themselves. Century 296 is where you read that, and it's like, dang. I would be very worried because, again, the Roman Pontiff and those like him, it's a prophecy of the arrests right in Nostradamus. Michael is pointing that out. The fire in the sky will be seen. Persia invades Macedonia. It's like, damn, that's amazing. So now we're going to get the updates from the Alliance on a week-by-week basis, as we always do, the latest slides. I'm not going to read all the words of the corresponding text that we get, but if you haven't seen this before, this is one of the really interesting, weird things. Let's get that sword in the shot there. There we go. One of the interesting, weird things that we're dealing with is that this particular individual, we don't even know who he is totally anonymous. He posts as this shadow character. I had limited interaction with him. He did not want to admit that he was really doing a code, which I understand. Operators can never divulge. Disinformation is necessary. Gene Novacek says, thanks so much for everything, and I look forward to the live event. So he's definitely posting videos in most of the posts that he puts online. The posts themselves seem to show inside Alliance knowledge, and then you count the number of seconds in the video, and that takes you back to the original letter of the alphabet here that we're always focused about. And those posts came out in 2017. We read the number of seconds as the post. This system has been incredibly consistent and reliable, and we've been doing it now for what? A year and a half. I started to read his posts and then correlate them with the number of seconds over a year and a half ago. And by the way, folks like Dave from X22 Report, very frequently, he would look at posts from like Dan Scavino and say, this number of seconds in the video corresponds to this in the posts. So this is a long established pedigree of counting the number of seconds and then adding it up and saying, okay, that's what we're dealing with, is that number in the posts. So now you have the orientation if you haven't seen this before. But again, we want to keep the show going, and we're going to try to keep it to 4 hours. I think we can. So this parade comes out to Dis 47. That's the first one we got right here. They are marching now through New York City's parade, and they're carrying anti-signs. They wave foreign flags, claim to be protesting fascism in the heart of America, and their message is loud and clear. They demand equal justice by any means necessary. So you know what his opinion is on this. And then he gives us 36 seconds, which goes to post number 36. And again, we're not going to read all this. You can read the first two parts. We're just going to get down to the bottom here, which is right here. There is simply no other way than to use the military. It's that corrupt and dirty. Please be safe and pray for those in harm's way as they continually protect and serve our great country. So, yes, they're again telling us that this initiative and all the stuff that's being done to try to change the world, there's no other way to solve it except with the military. You just have to deal with that. You know, everybody's going to see this. It's going to be scary when it happens, and they're trying to get everybody to be more relaxed when they do it. So then we have Kathy threatening the beheading, and these embroidered beheaded masks on the wall. And then she smiles into the camera. It's really creepy. A disturbing video showing these individuals beheaded. She nods to the camera at the end, implies to her followers that she wants to see them dead. And it also includes Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg, by the way. This might be her most deranged act yet. Very, very creepy stuff. So then we got post number 18, which is again talking about how they make more money than they get from their salary. We've seen this one many times. Again, showing us the real problem is that people are being bribed and they're being owned. And it's not fair to the rest of us that this is happening, right? We don't want this to continue this way. We don't want it to be all graft and insider trading and all that stuff. So here he is out there threatening they're going to do it again. The public faces serious threats. Scientists are being severely intimidated. We are not prepared for the next one from a scientific standpoint. And he asks us to trust him now for the future of science. Dear God. It's not the same science that I have. I'll just tell you that much. So post number 89 is again talking about building a map, putting all this together. This is the Alliance continuing to remind me, we need you to do the show on Sunday. And others like me. I'm not the only one. But I'm doing it on Sunday. So this is the same one that we usually won't read because it's just too many keywords. But money being sent to a foundation under the disguise of relief. This is part of how money is being shuffled around. So again, just to go back to where we were, it's talking about they want to start up another one. So they're going to use the money that they've hidden and shuffled around as relief in order to try to do that. It's not going to work. The alliance will not let this happen. Next in line, we have the head of the Federal Reserve being criticized by 47, a handwritten note marking exactly where he believes U.S. interest rates should be and where they are. He tells him that he's too late and he's cost us a fortune. And here's the letter right here. You've cost us hundreds of billions of dollars, and, you know, there you go. I can't read it all because it's too far away. So then we have RFK revealing these connections, which are fascinating. That's going to become a big story in the future. They developed the financier of this individual at UNC, University of North Carolina, developed a method to erase all human fingerprints. So you don't know what happened. At the same time, he reportedly assisted them in creating this, sparking a dangerous new situation. He now is demanding to know why this sensitive work was handed over to these individuals. So this could be another way in which the whole thing happens, the whole thing breaks open. There's all these different avenues in which, well, what if they have a hearing? What if somebody gets interrogated? It's, you know, congressional testimony. What if somebody gets arrested? What if they're found guilty? That could be the beginning of the whole thing. It may even happen in Congress. It may be about this. And so we really, again, be ready for more wars, be ready for more disruption, and let's just try to stay as calm as we can. But this could be the way they break the whole thing open. This could be the case that just makes everybody freak out when they learn the truth. Once again, they show the map being built. They are again telling us we got to build the map. It's very important. Big stuff is about to happen. Don't fall asleep. The graphic is right. Stay organized. So yes, we're very close. Don't fall into complacency. Think this isn't going to happen. It is. Have your survival food ready. Now we have Harari, very much like in my dream, the whales were like Noah's Ark. Here it is, time looped again. Noah's Ark. Michael had that one, right? That's pretty amazing. Noah's Ark for the elite. Well, that's exactly what my dream was about. That the flood will come, scientists build a Noah's Ark, and everybody else is left behind to drown. That's exactly what the whole dream about the whales and the containers was. The elite are likely counting on this technological ark as a backup plan, while the rest of us are left to face our consequences. Quote, when the flood comes, the scientists will build a Noah's Ark for the elite, leaving the rest to drown. Now, again, I built these in sections. I didn't even realize exactly that, wow, Michael had just mentioned Noah's Ark in the form of these whales that everybody's loaded into that saves the earth. He knew this slide was going to be in there in 1999 because he's on both sides. He's living in 1999 and 2025 at the same time, and they both are actually visible to him simultaneously, which is really amazing. So this is another brilliant time loop on Michael's part. Post number 31, world stalemate. We have all the goods on everyone else. That's part of the reason why some of the things tying back to foreign heads of state, yeah, see, I'm getting tired now. Whoring heads of state, I said. The whoring heads of state. I'll grab my bastard, or no, what is this? It's some kind of sword, broadsword. I'll grab my broadsword. We don't want those whoring heads. Yeah, I'm tired. It's been a very long week, you guys. I've had loss of sleep, that kind of stuff. But hey, I'm going to do the show anyway. Thank you guys for showing up. Oops. Carrie Richens says, my new math fixes string theory and 16 quantum domains. Shapeshifter spa TikTok. Okay. And we have Diane Ross donated $100. I didn't catch that one. Thank you very, very much. We're still getting lots of moderation from the team. We have to because we're under constant sustained attack from Stephen and his allies. I think he's probably coordinating some people. Thanks so much for everything. Gene Novacek says, I look forward to your live event. Yes. If you want to buy a ticket, you need to do it quickly when I announce it. So please, if you want to go to the thing, please keep checking on my X page, David_Wilcock. I'll be announcing it there, and I'll probably announce it during the show. Maybe I'll even announce it while we're on the show. That's when we'll open up the sales. That way, you guys can definitely get in because you're the most loyal audience members watching this every week. But yes, it would be great if you guys can quickly grab those, and if you can't get in person, then please buy it as a stream. We'll figure out a way to get that done. So we are in one of the most critical times of our country. It's just what Michael was saying. And we are purifying the government to remove entrenched bad actors. So much string pulling and blackmail. We need to cut this off. So yes, this is going to happen, folks. It's leading up to something very big. Michael is warning us using time travel to do it. This was kind of outrageous. Could you imagine if 47, you're an influencer like me. I've never spoken to him. I mean, other people have, other influencers have. I haven't. Imagine if he calls you on the phone and he says that world peace is not going to happen unless you stop insulting the wife of the president of France. Like if he called me and said, David, you need to stop insulting this person because they're not going to allow the peace proceedings to occur until you do. And this is the president of France. And let's go back. Actually, I want to do that. Let's make sure I've got this in place here. Yeah, let's get that thing from Nostradamus because you're going to see what I mean when he mentioned the Gauls. Hold on. So let's do that. And then we'll grab that one. That's all we really need. Okay. Let's go back to Candace. This is worth it. I'm sorry. I didn't have a chance to do this before. So this is a pretty freaking heavy thing, right? For the President of the United States to call on the phone a popular influencer who has millions of views, to call her on the phone and say, world peace is not going to happen unless you stop insulting this individual first, by request of the president of this country. How weird, right? So here it is again. Candace says she got a personal call from him, and she kind of makes fun of him, which I wouldn't have done. I don't think that's a good idea. He doesn't like it, apparently. So, urging her to stop talking about Brigitte. According to Owens, he told her he had seen Brigitte up close and was convinced that she looked like a woman. Well, there it is, it's settled. He claimed Emmanuel was stalling peace talks over the war unless she backed off the topic. He even offered to appear on her podcast as a peace offering if she would agree to stand down. So this is the French president, and he's holding up the entire peace process. Let's go back to century 2, verse 94, quatrain 94. Great evil will be received through Gauls. That's France. Vain terror to the maritime lion. People will pass by the sea in infinite numbers without 250,000 escaping. So the maritime lion seems to represent him and the alliance in America. Macron from France, which is the Gaul, is now trying to negotiate a ceasefire. So Michael gave us this 2 lines away from the one he quoted. And it's like, dang, Nostradamus was right about that too. Like, how did this happen? This stuff was written in the 1600s. Dan Rapace, I hope you can fully immerse in the feeling of abundance, manifest your funding ASAP. Until then, here's $10, LOL. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And so we've got that covered. We're at 4,016 viewers. I really want to thank you guys for being here. The number has gone up, even though I had my break. Great evil will be received through the Gauls, terror to the maritime lion. I wouldn't say he's in terror, but definitely he's concerned enough that he called her on the phone and said, look, I'll appear on your show. Just please stop doing this. And again, the Gauls inhabited modern-day France. There you go. So there she is, 3 minutes, 47 seconds, brings us to 2:27, which is a photograph of these individuals sitting together, Clinton and then the head of China at the time. And look who's there behind him. Right behind Clinton on the right. Oh, you recognize that face? Yep, sure we do. All the horrible things that have gone down. You can see him even closer there. So yes, they're telling us here that this is all part of how we have to clear the swamp. We have to go through this step first. So he's going to be forced to testify under oath. Dude, this could be the end of the whole thing. If it comes out in Congress, under oath, in this court hearing in Congress, that this stuff happened, and he's going to say, I don't know anything, but the point is, the evidence will be conclusive and an arrest or conviction may actually be made. I don't know if they can actually do that. They may have to refer it to a judge for conviction. We'll find out how that goes down. But this could be the final phase that breaks the whole thing open. That's what I'm thinking, you guys. The senator confirms he will be forced to testify under oath. Newly declassified records released thanks to Junior revealed that he knew this research might have caused this to occur. These documents were hidden under the previous, and now he faces public humiliation for lying. Well, more than just humiliation. It could be an arrest. Post number 51, we've seen this one. Again, we've seen all of them many, many times, but we've seen this one a whole bunch, where it says, I've watched society is effectively addicted to media, apps, games, music, propaganda. The minute you try to open somebody's eyes, you are shunned. We are being dumbed down, weakened, and groomed for passivity and stupidity through food addictions and other addictions like calf fattened for a slaughter. And da-da-da-da-da, I felt bad because I can't stand that no one will open their eyes. We are being manipulated hard. I certainly hope with all my heart that he will make good on his promise to clean the swamp. You've read this one many, many times with me. Pray for the spiritual edification of God. The pieces are coming together. If this is true, those working with him are geniuses. Absolutely. Because I would have never imagined there'd be any possible way to take over this monster of corruption. And he says, Dear Patriot, we hear you. We hear all Americans such as yourself. The time has come back to take our great land back. Sorry, the time has come to take back our great land. See, I'm really tired. The time is now. He is backed by the absolute finest people alive, all dedicated to the eradication of evil and corruption from the world. Find peace. God is with us. God bless you and be safe. The White House. That's very exciting. We're getting really close now. It's going to be time to take back our great land. And the time is now. So again, don't keep thinking nothing's going to happen. They're going to drag people into Congress. They're going to make this thing go down. It's coming very soon. That could be what breaks it all open, you guys. And now part of the Wrestlemania, and wrestling again came up this week. He's going to deport Elon. I don't really think so. Does anybody even believe this? He says at the bottom. You see that? He described Doge as a monster that might have to go back and eat its creator. We're up to like WrestleMania 6 or 7 by now. I think it's like WrestleMania 7. Anyway, we have post number 47. You can paint the picture based solely on the questions we're asking. In other words, they're about to do something. Be vigilant today and expect a major negative event. Does anyone find it a coincidence that they always have these weird things happen when they get bad news? What is that called? Well, there you go. And this is how the president made such progress in the short time since he's been president, because he's got this huge, huge alliance behind him. So then we have Jason dissing the supporters, people like me. He says they need a talking to. They should be held personally responsible for doing this. It's the people who put him there and then put him there again who truly deserve a great deal of responsibility and a serious talking to. Well, no, it's actually a majority. Sorry. Post number 73. This is another one that, it's talking about his Twitter being taken down. So we might see more internet blockages coming up. That could be possible. And military guards do not normally assist the Secret Service, but now they are. And once again, this enigmatic line, what flying object was recently shot down? So maybe we're going to see some disclosure or UFOs. I mean, who knows where this is going, but it's going to be exciting. We have the rapper Big Homie fearing for his life if said individual is released. He's fled the United States, claiming that he fears if this individual walks free for his life. Based on what he's already revealed publicly, he's certain this individual will come after him. I know that if he walks, I will be target number 1. 3.4 million views on that one. Post number 73 is the repetition of the exact same number as the previous post. Now, what are the odds of that, right? The exact same post comes twice. He's worried about being hunted down by this individual who may get acquitted because it's a corrupt system. That's why they needed you to see that first. The military is the only way forward. He's fearing for his life. We get exactly the same post again, 73. So they really want to make sure we read this. So again, there might be an internet blackout because the Twitter is being taken down. So that could be happening. The next, when they try to bring, it's probably going to be when they try to bring him into Congress, right? When they try to get that thing going and they try to bring him into Congress, you know, the swamp isn't going to like it. They're going to try to create World War III. They're going to try to make something big happen, and they're going to try to do riots. And if somebody gets arrested or whatever happens, it's going to all get really wild. So again, it could start this week. They've already got military in New York City. They've already got fencing around the White House and the Treasury. Do you think they might be doing something this week? Yeah, I do, because they're telling us to panic. They're not telling us to relax. It's very, very close, and they gave us this post twice. So let's look at it again. So again, Twitter being taken down. That's what we expect is going to happen at the end. And attacks will occur multiple times. Military guards are around the president, and they don't normally assist Secret Service. So again, this is because the military's taking control of the situation. Flying objects being shot down. So maybe we're going to see some weird stuff. I mean, who knows what the flying object could be? But the fact that they said this twice is very compelling. So now we're seeing that when heinous acts occur, he's considering that this could be the result. He's open to the idea of doing that to citizens who commit heinous acts. Well, you know who he's talking about. He's talking about the swamp. Regardless of how controversial that sounds. He made it clear he doesn't care about the backlash, saying we've got a lot of bad people who have been here for far too long. What do you consider to be a heinous act? Well, we know what this is about. This is talking about the arrests. It's another big telegraph of it. To me, it's pretty obvious. And, you know, so yes, people are going to be brought to Cuba. They're not going to be left in this country. They're going to be brought somewhere else. Oh, okay, here we go. I got another donation here, and it's a birthday request. Jackie Baby. David, please say happy birthday to Robba Broccoli. Happy birthday, Robba Broccoli. Thank you. We are both fans of yours and Archangel Michael. Also, I believe the arrests are happening behind the scenes. I think you're right. What was up with that military plane flying and landing in Alligator Alcatraz? Let's just make sure I didn't miss anybody else. We had Dan Rapace. He donated $10. I hope you can fully immerse in the feeling of abundance and manifest your funding. Until then, here's $10. LOL. Thank you very much for that. And your donations help to offset the lower view count, by the way. So the donations are awesome, and I still need them. Up until we get money, we don't have the money. So that's the bottom line. But everything's looking good. It's a little bit, my face is spotty though. I'm like, my own live video playback is not doing the best, but as long as you guys can see it, that's all that matters. It's buffering a little funny, but I think you guys are having a fine show. So anyway, a lot of bad people who have been here far too long. You know what they're talking about. It's about Guantanamo. So then we have 47, which is yet again the same number we saw in an earlier post. So they're playing that repetition game again. You can paint the picture based solely on questions asked, be vigilant, and expect a major negative violent event. Once again, does anyone find it to be coincidence there's always an attack when bad news breaks? How has he made so much progress in the short time he's been president? Okay, guys, that's 2 warnings in a row, the same post twice in a row. Something bad is probably going to happen this week. You know, something is going to go down. It's going to be a major event. The military is trying to stop it, but we're being warned. So I would take that very seriously. 2 iterations of 47 and then 2 iterations of the other one that we just saw. So he's facing 20 years, so they say, after 13 hours of deliberations over 3 days. Wow. Can you believe that? Count 3 and count 5. He's guilty, but not 1, 2, and 4, facing up to 20 years. And then we have post number 23. Military intelligence has the same special access programs as other groups after what happened in 2001. And so this is important because the military can do stuff and it can be done under the authority of the president. The Founding Fathers knew that our agencies would grow in power so much that they could hold the executive hostage or engage with bad actors. And so there's somebody new directing every agency except one. The alliance controls the top. Then we have Suge Knight painting a darker picture. He claims a former Interscope employee was tasked with delivering such and such, and he was involved from the start. He also alleges that he had worked as an FBI informant, just like Blacklist, right? Raymond Reddington is like America's greatest criminal, and then everybody keeps finding out that he's working with the FBI. I'm into season 10 now. And now that's coming up a lot, that like other criminals are finding out that he ratted him out. And now all the old blacklisters are coming after him again. It's really, really interesting. So that's exactly like Raymond Reddington in the Blacklist television series, which is a very, very big show on NBC that ran for 10 seasons, highly advertised. Worked with the FBI his entire career, and his company was funded through illicit means by a man who was later released from prison. He adds that these other individuals brought this guy up and then also brought up other stars to gain power and control. Dang. Isn't that something? So he's literally like the Raymond Reddington of color. You got to love that. You got to love that. So then we have 1.6 million views, which is awesome. Post number 189. This one's kind of long, so I broke it up. Identify the symbolism of the owl or the Y. Now, the Y, I think, is supposed to represent like the goat horns, that kind of thing, or devil horns. That's what they're really talking about here, just so you understand how they deploy this symbolism to the world and people stay asleep. They don't realize what they're being told. Identify the symbolism of the owl and the Y. Which performers and celebrities supported her in that campaign? Who performed at her rallies? What jewelry or tattoos did they have? And then it goes on and on from here. Celebrities, politicians, powerful people and groups, all using these symbols and showing them openly, their need for symbolism will be their downfall. What is the role of the media? Push conspiracy theories. Social media institute new rules, allowing for bans and censorship so you can't talk about anything. Yep. Part 2, how were they adopted into the cult when they were children? This is what happens to all of them. What were they provided for, obeying and staying silent? How were they brainwashed? All that you know to be right is wrong. And the cult runs the world. I mean, it's going to be such a different world once this is common knowledge and everybody wakes up. I mean, it's so huge. And I'm very, very excited about, like, where is this going to take us? What does it really mean? What are we getting out of this? It's wonderful. So, yes, it's going to scare people who haven't heard this before. They're going to grieve. They're going to cry. I get it. Our role is to help them go through this once it happens, and it is going to happen. Fantasyland, the world is fighting back and destroying the cult. 20% of what we're going to stop from happening is public, but 80% of it is private. The world would otherwise collapse. In other words, if we got the whole high-octane version of the story, people would completely freak out. So we're only going to get 20% of the information they could share with us. But even that is going to nearly collapse people. That's the point. It's going to be very upsetting, but we have to take back the country from this entrenched evil. And again, I absolutely believe this is going to happen. The congressional hearing could be one way. There's other ways they could do it, but I think we're very, very close. I know I keep saying that. I know you're tired of waiting, but man, they're not telling us to lie down. They're telling us you got to be wide awake and ready for anything right now. The 40,000-foot view, again, is needed, and we have to decrease altitude to avoid the label of conspiracy. That was necessary. So they can't tell us the whole truth through the administration because they'd be called conspiracy theorists. But again, at the end, once they've done the arrests, I think we're going to learn everything, or at least a lot. 20% is going to be more than enough, believe me. So he collapses to his knees after the verdict. It says that right here. He bent forward as the verdict was read, captured in a courtroom sketch, collapsing in visible relief after a partial acquittal, but he's still facing 20 years. So then we have this topless spectacle, topless breasts, as you can see right here, being shaken with baby oil. All kinds of stuff is going on. These are people who don't realize how bad this really is. His supporters turned it into a full-blown spectacle, partying hard after the victory verdict was announced. The energy was wild, raw, completely unapologetic. These people are sick. I think they just don't know any better. I wouldn't necessarily call them sick, but they don't know any better. So there you go. Topless dancing and everything. Post number 32. Whoa. The arrests will happen maybe in one day, but it cannot go slow. The initial wave will be fast and meaningful. It will send a signal to others immediately. You will see the tide turn. Not even the media can hide. Rest assured, some of them will be jailed as deep cover agents. So right there, we've got everything that we're expecting to see. Maybe one day, but it won't go slow. That's the arrests. Why? Because people like this are going to be set free, and their supporters are going to think he was innocent, and they're going to celebrate in the streets and get all slathered up and whatever. That's why we have to have it done this way. So this is a very direct prophecy. Again, 32 is a very direct prophecy, and maybe they're going to get the whole thing in one day, but the world will be completely different once it happens. They just told us to expect internet blackouts, which means we could have the emergency message system. They gave us post 35. That's the last slide we have. That's stunning. So here's another kind of like hate post that they did. I got to be careful with these because I don't want anybody coming after me. So I'm just the reporter. I don't think this is really what she looks like, but new photos of Kathy, terrifying children, many saying she bears an uncanny resemblance to Pennywise from It. So yes, I mean, it's unfortunate that her hair is all red and she's got that hairline, and then they're making this analogy with the clown, as you can see right here. Okay, I mean, I just don't even want to laugh at this because I don't want anybody coming after me, but you can laugh at home, all right? So then the lawyer is predicting that it's all just going to go away. He's not going to do 20 years. He might not even do 1 year. Oh my God, really? That's why the military is necessary, folks. He called the verdict a good day for the law and argued that the guy was overcharged, claimed that these people had participated willingly. He predicts that the 2 charges will be overturned and he should be free very soon. Yikes. Again, military is the only way forward, right? This is the way the system is. It's built this way. Post number 97 is, again, huge. And that's the whole thing, so we're just going to go through it. And it's talking about a shooter, his identification, background, history, and family. What would his connections be to stuff that comes out of Mesoamerica or Mexico, whatever. The 13, as you can see there. Who is the enemy? That would be the American people, unfortunately. And then we have hostages that force a narrative. Who knows where the bodies are buried? And again, look at this, dude. Reread the complete graphic, confirmed good, paint the picture. That's what we're doing every Sunday, no matter what. I've been loyal to the Alliance. I keep going. Disinformation exists and is necessary. 10 days of darkness, which they spelled darnkess. We're not going to deal with that right now. That might be something or not. War of good versus evil. 10 days of darkness. There it is again. It's another prophecy of the arrest. It's another prophecy that this might last 1 day, maybe 1 day, but it cannot go slow. The initial wave will be fast and meaningful. Now they're saying 10 days. Same kind of thing again. So again, it's tiresome to wait, and we always want it to be over, and we want to think that that's going to create it or that's going to create it, but it is going to happen. We're not going to be like this forever. This is going to change. So Muslims may be turning on this particular individual because of his support. His name is Zoran. I guess that's the mayor or something. Maybe he won mayor. I'm not exactly sure. Accusing him of betraying their faith after his public support of this month. A woman confronted him, said, in the end times there will be hypocrites among Muslims who side with the oppressors. She accused him of being a hidden ally, only telling the public what they want him to say, what they want us to hear. And there you can see the rainbow up at the top. So post number 52. Again, this is a nice short one that's just talking about how they have a lot more money than they should have gotten from being paid for these jobs. The annual salary of a president is very small compared to the size of homes he's buying. So they're just telling you, how do you reconcile that? And then we got, again, John McCain. And you can play this game with most of the D's and many R's. The swamp is buying their loyalty. This is all going to come out. So now we have another attorney, the high-profile lawyer Mark, saying that this is going to happen within a year. There will be a partial acquittal. Again, we already know they're going to handle it. The Alliance is going to handle this. So then on the 3rd, we have another funny reference of him being a clone. I don't really think that's true. The ally Jason has now flirted with the conspiracy theory that he's actually a clone, pointing to this video. Fact checkers debunked it already and confirmed he's very real. Is there anything strange about this video? I leave that up to you. His chin does look strange. You can see his thumb right below his chin there. But again, I'm not too worried about clones. I don't think that's what's going on. So post number 98, again, they say, build the map, build the map, build the map. which means I got to keep doing this show no matter what. Because it says here, it is more important than you know. This is the big picture. Please update and continue to log. So again, you know, they know I didn't want to do a show this week. They knew I was stressed out about the events that took place, but I'm here anyway because they've done this several times in this week's posts. Like, it's very important. Don't drop the ball. So yeah, stay vigilant, folks, because we're right at the end. And we're at 3 hours and 44 minutes. I think we can get done within 4 hours. Do you agree with the amnesty plan? For, you know, well, and then this was the one that popped up at the top. To my understanding, it is not amnesty. It is a temporary solution to protect essential industries. They would not receive permanent legal status. Approximately 40 to 42% of everybody working the farms are in this category. So I think, you know, if that's what it needs to keep the country stable and it's not permanent, then sure, what the heck. But I don't know what he's trying to get at here. You can have your own opinion. So the personal chef is fearing for her own life. Wrote a letter to the judge urging that bail be denied. She says she was not only a witness to physical abuse, but also suffered it herself. Well, again, they're showing you why this is also necessary. We got 4 minutes and 4 seconds. That's 2:44, which this is a new one. Less than 10 can confirm me. That would be the less than 10 people who actually control and run the alliance at the top level, and only 3 are non-military. That's post number 60. We see that over and over again. So do it Q, coincidence. Twitter retweet, coincidence. Keywords, coincidence. Pictures, coincidence. No, they're not coincidences. This is all stuff that's meant only for you. So we may never hear about this. This whole thing about the number of seconds in the posts may never really go public. It's meant only for you. Less than 10 can confirm what's really going on. And all of these interesting comms they're giving us are coincidences. So that makes sense. And again, they are going to fulfill the plan. So then we have the reference to high interest lenders. They're going after him now after he used this particular term that comes from the Merchant of Venice, where this individual is portrayed as a lender. He claimed that these people took away a lot of family and destroyed a lot of families, but we did the opposite. And he later clarified that for him, it simply means somebody who deals in high interest. Well, that's pretty wild, right? That's walking the line. He's walking the line. And then it says, get the popcorn. Friday and Saturday will deliver on the promise. He must clean house to free up and demonstrate who has authority to pass important legislation. All will come into focus. If anyone thinks he's not in control, they are kidding themselves. There you go. It's all going to come into focus. And again, they're telling us, get ready. This week, by Friday of this coming week, something will have happened. So then we have this Christian summer camp. We talked about that. Lost in the flood. Helicopters rescuing missing children from Camp Mystic following severe flash flooding from the, again, Guadalupe River. Michael had that right in the reading. Multiple cabins were swept away by rising waters, several children unaccounted for, part of a deadly storm system already claiming multiple lives across central Texas. And we have post number 76. Martial law in Saudi, which is relevant because, again, you know, it's going to happen here. And these guys are responsible for all this money being donated to various bad actors. And what happened there is going to happen here. SA to US. National Guard. These crumbs in time will be the biggest drops ever disclosed in our history. So we're going to learn the truth in time. It's not going to happen right away. The Great Awakening. And remember, disinformation is real. So they have to sometimes tell you things that are not really true in order to fulfill the agenda that they're trying to do. This is very tragic. This oil executive was found dead outside his apartment. It's called an apparent suicide from the 17th floor, but he only lived on the 10th floor. So how did he end up 7 floors higher? That's very strange, right? Adding to a growing list of executives who died under mysterious circumstances since 2022. Probably not anything natural, but was totally something that was to get him to shut the hell up. This is the one they know I'm not going to read because it's all about the Muslims and about what has happened and how did they end up being involved in all this kind of stuff that's going on here. You can read it for yourself. Again, they know that one's off limits for me. I just won't even go there. So after the flood, we still have 20 children missing. And school buses, military-style rescue trucks pulling in one by one, carrying them as they're frightened and soaked in mud. Tearful reunions, parents clung tightly to their sons and daughters. I just want to go home. I know what it feels like, man. I wanted to just relax and not do a show today, but I had to because it's so amazing. One father stood frozen, his eyes scanning every bus door, waiting for any sign of his daughters still lost in the chaos. Rescue teams haven't stopped searching. Just a horrible tragedy that Michael directly talks about in the time loop with the Guadalupe River and other methods. Then we have fireworks appearing over the Marine Memorial. This one deleted right as I was trying to get it, so I had to just take the one off of my main feed. You know, and who knows why, but 43 seconds. Again, these crumbs are not meant to scare anyone, but merely inform. Resistance will be dealt with swiftly. The core focus is to remove, entrench, and fortify bad actors. Be diligent. Phone numbers will be provided. That's the emergency message system thing again. If you witness uprisings or other violence, any military that you see is for your protection and to demonstrate our resolve. Woo! It is so on. And then this one also got deleted. He says this is the worst kind of news you can receive. It's about 2 children who were lost in the flood. That's Janie and Renee. So tragic. Over 24 people have already been lost. And then we have Marjorie introducing this atmospheric ban where it was, Joe once mocked her, claiming that the government controls the weather. Now she's introducing a bill making it a felony to release anything into the atmosphere. Saying she spent months researching this and crafting this legislation. Well, that's pretty big. That's pretty cool. Knowing what we know, it's a major, major step that could lead to all kinds of disclosure, folks. This could all converge simultaneously. And then 41, what a coincidence. The mountain that housed their nuclear weapons and testing just collapsed. So that also sounds like just what happened in Iran. I wonder if critically important materials and scientists, aka the makers, were inside when it happened. Obviously they were. Shocking that no global news agency suspects that we, the military, had anything to do with it. Enjoy the crumbs. So yes, this is all going to be coming to an end, and a lot of it is going to stay secret. They're going to blow up entire places you don't even hear about or know about. Again, if you have a secret clandestine cocaine lab and somebody blows it up on you, you don't call the police and say, gosh darn it, my illegal drug lab just got blown up. Would you guys please help me out? No, you're not going to say a word. That's the same kind of idea right here. Whoops, we had 2 donations come in. I just saw that. And that would be R.J. McKay Horton donated $50. Thank you very much. And he says, David, you are also a patriot. Thanks for your service. Carrie Richens, urgent you see my math. Michael told you a code, listen to the feminine. Clear Choice Reality. Thank you, David, for another outstanding show. We really appreciate it. See if I missed anybody else. Vacapalo, please announce the event dates live on your show. I'm still banned from your X account since May. I don't want to miss it, and I greatly appreciate it. Okay. We'll see if we can make that happen. And we're all up to date now. Wilcock, elaborate sizzle today, says Midnight Mark. Just like my purple polished queen with the fur lining and gold trim, you're always going to be the man. Well, thank you guys. And we're up to 4,236 viewers, so we're doing really good here. And we're going to try to keep it to 4 hours. I think we can. Let's keep going. So Rosie is calling for a revolution from Ireland. On Independence Day, the current one must be overthrown, oddly then reciting the Declaration of Independence. She described this as a sad day in our history and said we have to keep going. Well, again, I can't wait for people who are in this modality to understand what's going on. It's so frustrating that this thing is dragged on for so long. It really is. And then we have this classic thing right here. To those watching, you know who you are. You have a choice to make. You can stand up and do what you know to be right, or you can suffer the consequences of your previous actions. So again, the Alliance will make a deal with you, but you have to step up and do what you know is right. Make no mistake, you are on the losing side. The choice is yours. If you decide to take down the internet, we will be ready. So again, we're very, very close. They keep warning us about an internet disruption. Maybe one day, but it will be, the initial wave will be fast and meaningful. 10 days of darkness. We had a couple posts on that. I'm very convinced that we're very close now. And then we have this woman making a video about scamming for benefits. proudly claiming she's on them after lying on the application. She doesn't report any income, admitting she makes money under the table that you can't track. Well, they're supposed to try to force you to get a job, but who knows? She's openly bragging about scamming the taxpayers, collecting benefits that she doesn't qualify for. And then we have post number 36. Again, this is one we already saw, so we don't have to keep going over and over. But military intelligence, no media, and no leaks. Transferring their money to nonprofits. And once again, let's just go to the bottom, as I said before, because we already got this one. There is simply no other way than to use the military. It is that corrupt and dirty. Please be safe and pray for those in harm's way as they continually protect and serve our great country. And we have the chief of NATO projecting a World War III, just like Michael talked about. The Great Bear wishes to rekindle itself with China. That was in our prophecies. They're trying to take China would take Taiwan. Putin would attack NATO. They desperately want something like this to happen. I don't think that it will. But again, look at that. Look at the number of seconds. That's right. It's another iteration of post number 35. Woohoo! So let's have it. Here we go. And this is the last slide. He will be well insulated and protected on Air Force One and abroad in specific classified locations while these mass arrest operations are carried out. Because of how entrenched it is, he's got to protect himself. They don't want anybody shooting him. It is time to take back our country, make America great again, salute and pray for brave men and women in uniform who are going to be undertaking this assignment for peace, unity, and to bring back our power. We hope this message reaches enough people, well, we got 4225 right now, to make a meaningful impact. We cannot yet telegraph this through normal methods, which means it's up to people like me, David Wilcock, to read this to you. For reasons I'm sure everyone can understand, follow the questions from previous threads, remain calm. Primary targets are within D.C. and remain at the top on both sides. Spillover in the streets is going to be quickly shut down. Look for big negative events. They warn that again. Stay alert, be vigilant, and above all, please pray. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Love is patient, love is kind. God bless my fellow Americans, 4:10:20. And if you add 4:10 and 20 up, you get 34, which means you should also read post 34. And we've already done that before because, again, they're telling us this is very, very close. So here we are. We're at 3 hours and 56 minutes. We're right at the end of the show. Let's go right into our global peace meditation, you guys. Here we go. And then we can get out of here within 4 hours. So I'd like you to now put both feet flat on the floor. Close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath. Let yourself expand into the peace that you feel. What Michael has demonstrated today is an astounding, unprecedented feat of prophecy, quoting from Nostradamus. Persia invades Macedonia. A torch of light, a fire will be seen in the sky. Everything that we're going through now was precisely predicted. It's all going to be okay. We reaffirm our safety. We reaffirm the knowingness that everything is going to be all right, that the negative will be defeated. It is only a matter of time, and the time is now. Feeling ourselves, breathing in the gratitude of an intelligent, loving, cosmic universe that has made us in God's own image, the image of the Logos, the human being, all throughout our galaxy. Many different versions of the Christ, many different versions of the human body in various benevolent extraterrestrial civilizations that will be visiting us. We're so grateful for what we did here today. We're so grateful for this opportunity to expand our consciousness. So let's just breathe. Breathe in love, exhale pain, exhale fear, anxiety, impatience, and sadness. Breathe in the affirmation that you are alive now. You are safe. You are being protected by higher forces. They are not going to let something bad happen to us, folks. We affirm our own oneness, for in the grandest sense, we are the light. We are the love. We are the one infinite creator. This is as it was, as it is now, and as it always shall be. And nothing and no one can ever take that from us. And so it is. All right, let's come on back into the room. We got 1 minute to go. 1 single minute remaining before the end of the show. So thank you guys very much for being here today. It was a real honor and privilege to do this show. I'm so happy. And we will see you, barring anything else really weird going on, we will see you next Sunday. Ricky T, $50 donation. Thank you very much. We are in the Golden Age. Stefania, $100 donation right at the end. Thank you, David. Blessings and love. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next show. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.